little child was peeping out of the door from behind the door, and the child did not have eyes. It was like hollow, everything
Okay.
hollow. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. It was completely hollow, but I could see it peeping out of the uh, from the door. And I was like, what the hell? Jallianwala Bagh, you go. I'm sure there is. I am definite there is. You will hear residual energy,
Yeah.
residual. You may just about pick up gunshots there. If somebody gives us permission, I would love to go there. I was hearing these knocking sounds, or somebody's walking and banging and this and that. I was like, what the hell is going on?
All right, we are back with a new episode. नमस्ते, जय हिंद. मेरा नाम है जय. ये है द आवारा मुसाफिर शो, एक ऐसा पॉडकास्ट जहां हम बात करते हैं भारत के पास्ट, प्रेजेंट और फ्यूचर की, और हम बात करते हैं पैरानॉर्मल एक्टिविटीज की. आज के एपिसोड में मैं बात कर रहा हूं इंडियन पैरानॉर्मल सोसाइटी की टीम के साथ, इन पर्टिकुलर मेघना एंड सिद्धार्थ से. इंडियन पैरानॉर्मल सोसाइटी की शुरुआत लेट मिस्टर गौरव तिवारी ने की थी. IPS was one of the first paranormal research teams in India. ये एपिसोड थोड़ा सा लंबा है, बट 100% बहुत ही ज्यादा एंटरटेनिंग और एजुकेशनल है. इस एपिसोड में सिद्धार्थ और मेघना हमें सिर्फ अपनी पैरानॉर्मल स्टोरीज नहीं बताते, वो ये भी बताते हैं कि किस तरह से ह्यूमन साइकोलॉजी काम करती है, किस तरह से वो केसेस सॉल्व करते हैं, किस तरह से पैरानॉर्मल रिसर्च होती है. ओ बाय द वे, मैं एक चीज बताना तो भूल ही गया. मेघना ने हमें इस एपिसोड में बताया कि किस तरह से द डेविल हिमसेल्फ अटैक्ड एंड पजेस्ड हो. तो इस एपिसोड को एंजॉय करिए. आपको कोई भी पार्ट पसंद आता है तो कमेंट में हमें जरूर बताना. मेक श्योर टू हिट द लाइक बटन, हिट द सब्सक्राइब बटन. एंजॉय द एपिसोड. Hi Siddharth, Meghna, welcome on the show. We are going to talk about a lot of intense topics today, but before we start off with the topic, firstly, how did you both enter into the field of paranormal investigations, and what are some of your first experiences, if you can talk about that?
So I was always a believer in the paranormal. When we were growing up, our bedtime stories were ghost stories, which our mother used to read out to us from. We had this book with some ghost stories in it, and of course, she used to share her experiences when she was here in Bombay. She was working as a nurse, so what she used to experience in the hospitals where she trained and when she was working. Then, of course, my father also used to share his experiences in his ancestral home, what they used to hear when they were kids and all that. So all of us were definitely born and brought up with these kind of stories. And of course, when we were being naughty or we were not going to bed at the time, the best story was the headless horseman would come and take you away if you don't go to sleep or don't eat your meals. So that was the best story. We were, again, boogeyman, headless horseman, all these were the stories that we were brought up with. And of course, it was when we were growing up, then all that faded away. The experience that actually got me into this field was when I saw my father 1 year after he passed away.
Oh.
That was on the eve of my mom's birthday. So I was getting ready to go to work, and that time I was working in the call center, so my shifts were quite early in the morning, and everybody was sleeping in the house, and I was the only one who was awake. I was getting ready. I was standing in front of the sink and brushing my teeth, and I looked in the mirror, and I saw my father standing behind me in the doorway.
Okay.
And for like a few, even though he was there only for a few seconds, that felt as if he was standing there, and I was looking at him for quite a bit. So, and for initially I did not know what I was seeing. I recognized him actually with his clothes, the clothes that he was wearing, because I remember that my dad had that kind of a checked shirt and those jeans that he was wearing, and he just stood there and he just kept looking at me, and I was so shit scared. I was like, what the hell is happening? I did not know how to comprehend that situation or anything at that point of time. And I was like, and then after some time, he just disappeared. He turned into this black mass, and we were staying in a 1 bedroom. So because I used to get up early to go to work, so I sleep in the bedroom, and my brother and my mother used to sleep in the living room. So my brother was sleeping on the floor of the living room, and I saw after my dad turned into this black mask, he was hovering over my brother, and then he just went inside my brother. The black mask
Okay.
just went inside my brother. So that was my personal experiences. But then that house was anyway active even when my father was alive. My sister used to experience a lot of things. She was way more sensitive than I was. She used to literally see things
Okay.
and describe what she was seeing. And there was this one, she used to just keep saying that I keep hearing this woman crying
Oh
in the
my.
middle of the night, like wailing, as if, when somebody dies and you're crying for that person who's there, passed away. So she used to keep saying that every other day she used to keep hearing this woman crying, and we did not know what was going on. I mean, there was nobody crying in the building or nobody passed away in the building. So we used to ask the watchman, our security guard, whether anything happened, or maybe in the neighboring building something. It's like, no, nothing going on. So one fine day, my sister was experiencing this crying, was hearing all this. And the next day in the morning, our security guard was like asking my mom, मैडम कोई मर गया था क्या बिल्डिंग में? बिकॉज मेरे को बहुत रोने की आवाज़ आ रही थी. सो वी वर लाइक, okay, fine, my sister's experiencing, this guy's also experiencing the same things, that definitely she's not crazy. So that is what was happening in our house. And we used to see black shadows, black masses. We used to hear our names being called out when
Oh my
nobody was
God.
there in the house.
Yeah.
Once I heard my name, once I was sleeping, and I heard my name being called out in my sister's voice. And my sister was not even Bombay, she was in Pune.
Okay.
So I was like, I thought maybe she's come to Bombay and she's come home and I have no idea about it. So I got up and I was like, Mom, my sister's name is Ekta. So I was like, is Ekta here? She's like, no. I was like, is she on her way here or anything? She's like, no, nothing like that. I said, no, I just heard her calling out to me. So that used to go on in that house where we were staying there till the time my dad passed away in that house. Then, of course, wherever we moved after that, there was something or the other always going on. We used to hear humming, we used to hear whistling, literally as if somebody was standing right next to you and humming and whistling in your ears.
Okay.
No clue what was happening. And then I was like, then we used to see, my mother and I were very fond of watching all these ghost shows and paranormal shows on TV. Discovery pe haunting aata tha.
Right.
So we used to sit and watch that in the night. And I was like, and I used to look at these paranormal investigators, and also, us time pe AXN pe, there was this 1 or 2 seasons of Ghost Adventures and Taps that they showed. So I was very fascinated with that, with the work that they were doing. I said, I wish there was something like that in India.
Yeah.
I had no idea that we had anything like this. I said, I wish there was something like this happening in India, or you could pursue this as a career, or just get into the field. I had no clue. I like, what to do? How do I do? I said, then I just completely forgot about it. Then I saw MTV Girls Night Out once, and I was like, there is somebody who's doing this. And I was still not sure whether they were actually real people or just bought for the show, bought on the show and all. So I researched that and I saw, okay, there was something. So I like paranormal teams in India, and the first thing that name came up was Indian Paranormal Society. So I researched, I saw, are these the same people that were on MTV Girls Night Out? It turned out they were the same people.
Okay.
So I wrote to Gaurav, and I asked him if I need to join the team or, pursue this field. What do I need to do? How do I get in touch with you guys? And then he replied and he told me the procedure to do a course, get a better understanding of the field, and then you can create your own team.
Okay.
So that's how I got into it. This was my experience that got me into this field, So that was for me,
Yeah. And Siddharth, how did it begin for you?
So for me, I think as crazy as Meghna's story is, so I didn't have a lot of experiences as such. Of course, I also grew up watching Ahert and all those Koi Hai. So all those very old kind of the horror scene that was there in India. So I used to consume a lot of that content. I remember I think on Zee TV there was something called as Joker. There was a show called as Joker. So I used to be really scared of clowns and because it showed that the entire premise of the episode was there was a killer clown in town,
I remember that
and he
episode.
used to go and murder people and do all crazy things there. Right? So I used to be scared of clowns, but then growing up, I think slowly that memory of being scared of clowns and all those things started fading away. And my experience that I had, I don't know if I can call it an experience or not, but as far as I remember, I think 2013 was when I visited Goa with my friends, and we were there to not 2013, sorry, 2012, around in the month of December, because we were there to celebrate New Year's. So back when we were there, I think we had gone to one of those small, eatery places, come bar kind of a setup that they have. So right next to a particular highway, I think it was NH13 or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, we had gone there and we were having our dinner. But whilst everybody was sitting in that place, we started getting or we started feeling uncomfortable to a point where we thought of just getting out of the place and not having our dinner there. Even though we had placed the order, we thought whatever has come to our table, we'll just finish it, or we'll leave it as it is and we'll just walk out of the place. Now nobody really understood what was going on, why did we feel uncomfortable, although nobody knew a lot about the field of paranormal then. But once we were back to the place where we were staying there, so we started discussing, and it was, I think, around we were a total of 6 people who were on that trip, all boys trip. So then we started discussing a lot of things about is there something like spirits or energies and all of that. And then somebody randomly said, I think what there was this, I could feel this energy of a male being there and all. Now again, I don't know, because I am very sure we were not drunk or anything to discuss all of that. But again, it's kind of something that piqued my interest. Yeah. And I started. So I knew that probably if I had to experience it, if I had to find answers for myself on whether this field exists or not. So my journey started in 2013. Then once I was back in Mumbai, I read about a lot of places to search and to visit, or maybe places that have an history of haunting. So I found out one place which is very close to my residence. It was like an abandoned park, and the story was that there was this gardener who was very attached to that place, but for some reason I think that place was sold off or something to a private contractor. But he was so upset, that gardener, he went to that place and he committed suicide. That was the apparent story. And after that, since then, they have not been able to develop. Okay. So even if you look at that particular place, so back when I visited that place, it had a lot of things were very messy, and it looked like that place was abandoned. Although I think a few years back they did a lot of work and just to beautify the spot, but they have still kept it as a park only, as a garden. So they have not built any building or anything around it. So back then when I visited, so at that time again I didn't have crazy experiences as such. I think there were 2 or 3 instances where I felt I was being watched, or I felt something, but I won't call it like a proper experience. But that is where I kind of entered this field as an investigator. And then I think around in the year of 2014, I figured out that they have a specific, they have a group of people who actually work in this particular direction, and they also are very keen to understand this field. And then I read about Gaurav Tiwari, his work, what all things that he has done. So I reached out to him, I contacted him. Initially, I think for the first 3 or 4 times, he didn't respond. I remember, sending him messages as a fan that, I'm really I'm looking forward to join you, all of this, because he used to get a lot of messages. So I think for some reason he didn't respond back then. But I enrolled as a researcher in the particular team. So we have a specific set of exams that we have to clear before, so they have their own course module. Okay. So once you clear that course module, you get enrolled as a member. So it's called as a PPI, which is a professional paranormal investigator. So once you are done with it's not like a 6-month course or anything. It depends upon your own pace. So you can do it in 1 month also. You can do it in 6 months. But I was so keen and eager. I think within 15 days, in less than I think a week, in fact, I completed the course, and then that is where I started communicating with him, with Gaurav Tiwari, and so he kind of told me a lot about what is his vision for this team and all of that. So 2014 is where the actual team Mumbai started. Okay. Then after I joined, I think there were a few other members who joined in, and I think Meghna joined in 2015. So, but 2015 was the time where this entire Mumbai team that we have, which we call as Mumbai IPS team. So that was created in the year 2015, and by the end of 2015 we had already started visiting places within Mumbai and investigating all of it.
Okay, got it. So let's talk about the real stuff, which is obviously ghosts, demons, souls, and stuff like that. What really happens when you come in contact with a ghost or a demon? What, as a human, what do you feel when you first, experience these things?
We've never experienced a demon.
Okay.
10 years now. I mean, together we've been
Yeah.
in this field for almost 10 years now and never once experienced a
Okay.
demon. I mean,
So-
my experience was completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to call it demonic. I mean, even though what I saw, I could say that what it was, but I would still not call it a demonic
So
experience.
what is a demon? What is a demonic possession?
Demons are basically inhuman spirits. Inhuman spirits are spirits that have never walked earth in human form.
Okay.
Like inhuman spirits are angels, elementals, fays, fairies, demons. They all come under inhuman spirits. Just because we say inhuman does not always mean that they are demons. No. And usually the spirits that we encounter are human spirits.
Okay.
Like people who have passed away. When we experience, I mean, we are always, like we say, we are always surrounded by energy and spirits, and they're always surrounding us. It's just that if we stop and actually start observing those things around us, then you'll start feeling them or sensing the spirits and the energy. Usually when you feel something, when you feel like there's a spirit around you or anything as such, there would be like cold spots around you. You may feel like the hair on the back of your neck standing, or you get goosebumps, or you will just have this feeling that somebody's watching you. Mostly it's cold spots that we experience. Or you may start hearing, you may hear footsteps, or you may hear knocking sounds, voices that you cannot explain, and there's nobody in the house, and you're suddenly hearing voices or footsteps coming from sources that you have no explanation of. So that would usually what will happen when you are in the presence of a spirit. That's how it is, right?
Correct. So although as a researcher or as a paranormal investigator, the idea is not to kind of chase spirits or to
We are not ghost hunters.
Hunters, yeah.
We are
So we don't-
researchers.
Yeah.
as researchers we don't get into classifying things as being inhuman. So these are all whatever Meghna shared. Somewhere it's all kind of as a researcher you must have knowledge about the theoretical aspects of paranormal research. So everything is categorized under being the theoretical aspect of paranormal.
Okay.
Although in real life, now let me be very honest. So when you experience something, the first thing in your mind is you experience something out of this world. You won't sit and categorize it as oh, I think this is
Exactly.
Okay.
You
this
will not
comes under
know.
this category of demonic
Yeah,
entity
yeah.
or something. So you don't, right? And most of the times when you encounter something, even before you realize it's gone, it's I mean that experience is gone.
Yeah.
So it's very subtle.
So how do you differentiate between a true incident and something that is just in your psyche, like psychologically you have some traumas, and because of that also you sometimes hallucinate or whatever. So how do you differentiate between a true incident and something that is very psychological?
So what we basically do is before, suppose if we get a call from a client, so before we actually confirm visiting the place and starting or conducting the investigation there, we usually have a small kind of
It's like a questionnaire
Okay.
that we have. It's
like an interview that we do.
interview that we do to understand what's the client's psyche, what's happening in the house, and all that.
Okay.
And most of the times, when you interact with clients, so now because we have around 10 years of experience, so the initial, I think, 1 or 2 years, we used to say yes to every case that we used to get. We used to be very excited, right? Ki
Okay.
Dekhna hai, we want to see what happens in the field and we want to see a ghost and all of that.
We also wanted our experience. So
Just out of excitement, I think any and every call that we used to get, we used to chip in our own money. We used to go there. We used to, spend the night and not have any experience, and then come back, frustrated in the morning, saying, "What did we sign up?"
that was also an experience on its own.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'm sure.
We have a lot of crazy stories, so we'll share later with you. So that being said, again, so when you speak to a client, you understand what beliefs they hold. What is their mindset? What is their kind of approach towards any new experience that they have in life. So a lot of the times you see clients who usually find a reason to blame something in their life towards the paranormal,
Yeah.
or so they don't want to take accountability or ownership for whatever is happening in their life. With such clients, of course, we see a pattern of when they narrate what is happening in their place, or when they narrate things in their life, they will usually drop small hints and point towards this particular behavior. So if you observe that this is the behavioral pattern that you see in a client, obviously even if we go to investigate the place, we will always have this thing in our mind that there's a thin line between this being actually real and this being
Yeah.
all fabricated, or even if it is not intentional, probably because they might have been told by someone. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
influence is also a major factor for why people experience this. So I mean, there has been innumerable cases where influence has actually damaged. I think the one very recent case of the Burari murders, or I won't call it a murder, but the Burari suicide that
Yeah.
happened in Delhi. They even have a documentary on
Right,
Netflix right now.
right.
So that also had become like a big commotion for in this
Hmm.
entire paranormal research field, because a lot of people are suspecting some kind of ghost coming and attacking the family and all of that. But later it was seen that it was just it was it was a psychological case where there was one head of the family who used to believe in all of these, and he influenced people into getting into this along
Right.
with him. So kind of that is one thing. So psychology is like one of the major factors that you have that will determine if the case is an actual paranormal case or not. So when it's an actual paranormal case, there are certain patterns that you see.
Okay.
Now, because like I said, we've investigated multiple cases, we know that if there is this pattern that is happening with the client, and we have confirmed
What
that.
is this pattern?
So pattern is basically the clients are
The way
probably
the way they express what is
Okay.
going on in their houses or what is happening in their lives. So we know, as because we've got इतना experience हो चुका है, so we know जिस तरह से वो लोग बात करते
Correct.
हैं तो पता चल जाता है, because there is a very fine line now between what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
So something like hearing footsteps,
Hmm.
a sense of being watched, that is paranoia basically, or maybe say doors shutting on their own,
Yeah.
objects moving, or objects getting misplaced. That is one of the most common, I think, objects getting misplaced, because they keep telling us that we know that we left our car keys on the counter, and when in the morning when we woke up, we found it in the kitchen area, or
Okay.
something like that. Now this happening over and over again is a sign. Okay, if it happens only once in their entire time
Yeah.
that they call us, so then of course that is not paranormal.
Yeah.
that cannot be considered as paranormal. Like,
Got it.
I'll give you one instance of how real, and with my own example. So recently, in the past 1 week, my mom and I started watching Haunting again.
Okay.
Okay, so they have all these episodes on YouTube. So what do? At tea time, we sit together and we sit and watch. So one fine day, we saw 2 episodes, one in the afternoon, one in the night. And then when I went to sleep in the night, I started hearing all these noises, I mean, of course, my house is already active, but then काफी टाइम से कुछ हुआ नहीं है मेरे घर में, and then suddenly this happens. I was hearing these knocking sounds, or somebody's walking and banging and this and that. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I knew instantly, oh shit, I'm going to watch only one episode in a day, and that also in the day, not in the night. And I was like, kisko uthaun to sleep with you. My mother is, even though my mother's sleeping next to me. So this is what happens also. A lot of time, we've had clients who are so much into this stuff more than us. They do so much of research, or they'll watch so much of the stuff that they are obsessed with it. And because of that, they feel that, oh, abhi mere ghar mein ho raha hai, mere saath mein ho raha hai, I think I'm getting possessed. Like, so that is where,
And I think with these kind of clients where they have made up their mind.
very careful with these people.
So if you go and tell them that probably we think this is psychological, probably we think that this is. So I think in my
They don't
entire
accept it.
in my entire 10 years of investigating, right, at least I think 90% to 95% of people I've always recommended them to go and visit a psychologist, and I've seen them turn hostile.
Okay.
So hostile, as in they'll either start cussing us, either they'll start saying that I know you are fake, because there is this entire taboo of that I won't visit a psychologist unless I'm completely mad.
They don't understand
So
what's
they
the,
are okay being like possessed rather than going to a
Possessed is basically
Possessed is different. It's they're possessed with their own mentality that they have.
Okay.
Yeah, or they are happy to do whatever they want to do
Hmm.
and experience all these things. Some people are just doing this for that rush
Yeah.
that they get. They don't understand the consequences of all these things. You know, even we are not into this so much. We don't sit and do research the whole day or sit and watch all these things
Yeah.
the whole day, or spending our nights in cemeteries and things like that. We don't do all that, but there are people who do this, and they are so obsessed कि अभी उनकी this has become like a lifestyle for them, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And then they come to us and then they'll say कि मेरे साथ ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है.
I think this is one of the you know the darker sides of paranormal that people don't realize. So it's just
They are so obsessed with it that they are like completely
They've
into
made
it.
up, and because of they have made up their mind that something is happening with them.
And we've seen all kinds of you know
Yeah.
characters, different characters who come to us and who tell us that, you know, this is what I do the entire day. Like in the morning I wake up, I start watching paranormal until 8 p.m. in the night, and then after that, and when you say watch paranormal, they don't do anything. They just log on to YouTube and they'll watch
the
some
videos.
random videos, you know, for 8 hours, 9 hours at a stretch. And in the night they feel that, you know, there are these entities that are there in their house, they are talking to them. And you know, it completely affects your psychology. So just like any other thing, so if you overdo this, kind of, you know, you
It becomes like an addiction.
Correct.
Anything you do, there's an overdosage. If you OD on it, either you will die or you will get addicted, and eventually you will get into a therapy session.
And we've seen how it has, you know, negatively affected people's life. Not only in India, this has happened in the US also. So people have gone completely bonkers, and you know, that's why that's what. Now and then, if something like that happens, people again eventually point out towards this being, you know, like a spirit maybe trying to possess that man. But we know, yes, we know that, you know, there are certain traits that people show. There are some people who are very obsessive with the way they approach things, and if you are obsessed, that is where you kind of, you know, you lose your stability, your mental stability.
Most of it, I mean, 97% of the cases where people claim paranormal, out of 100%, 97% is all psychological.
Okay.
Even that 2% or 3% which is remaining, that also we break it down. See, इसमें से भी क्या real है and क्या fake, और क्या what can be said, you know, this could be psychological.
Yeah.
That is also
So
there.
I want to know this ratio that you said 97% wala. It's 97% psychological and 2 to 3% is remaining whatever is happening for real. So मतलब what I want to really ask is भूत लोगों को possess नहीं कर रहे हैं, but they are just claiming कि हमें कर लिया because they are so much obsessed with all of these things. But then when you come across a real case where a person is possessed, what happens then? How do you
We've
deal with
not
that?
had any possession cases.
So we have not had, but I can say for sure that, you know, the approach should be in a way. Suppose if I get, you know, if there's a client who comes and who tells me that they've been possessed, right? The first thing we do, is we ask the client to visit a psychologist or a psychiatrist, get an evaluation done with the psychiatrist. Clearly, you know, they've given a remark saying that, you know, this client of mine is perfectly fine. As per my evaluation, there is nothing wrong in the client. That is where most of them fail the test.
Okay.
Because people do that. People think that they know, you know, मतलब हम लोग sure है कि we are possessed by a ghost. We say, okay, you do an evaluation. They come back to us with an evaluation report with a remark clearly stating that, you know, we suspect anxiety being the underlying issue. We suspect
Or early stages of schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia.
Because there's schizophrenia, the symptoms of schizophrenia and symptoms of being possessed are very similar.
In fact, even epilepsy. I know someone who's very close to me in my own family. When they got the first epileptic attack, you know, where your body gets so it's basically your entire muscles and your you know, your entire nervous system in a way is affected. So you start getting that static noise from your mouth and your body. You start shivering, and you bite your tongue, because of which the blood comes from your mouth. So it as if this had to happen in a place where people were not educated, right? It might look like you are being possessed by a ghost. And this happens, right?
So let me break this down. A lot of people अब वो बोलेंगे कि मेडिकल टर्म्स में उसे आपने एपिलेप्सी बोल दिया, बट हो सकता है कि भूत ने किया हो, किसी घोस्ट ने, डीमन ने किया हो.
क्या epilepsy attack?
Yeah, I'm just I mean
this can be, मतलब people might
Yeah.
claim.
They claim like that.
Yeah.
But come on, think
so
about it.
how do you differentiate then? Like because a lot of people who go through all of these things, in fact films में भी यही बताते हैं ना, जैसे वो भूल भुलैया, so there was this pandit and also a psychologist who was saying कि ये psychological चीज है, but the pandit was saying कि there is a spirit. So how do you then differentiate between this?
So eventually what we end up doing is, this is what I think Gaurav Tiwari he knew hypnosis, he knew PLR, past life therapy. So what he used to do was, whatever suits the client, I will go ahead with that narration.
Okay.
So and I know a lot of, so I worked under a hypnotist as an intern that I used to do. I used to work under him. So I asked him, right, because of his approach, I used to ask him that, do you think, people who come to you, who claim that they remember their past life, or who are living in the past, or things like that, because they used to say in their dreams they saw, this, they were born in a particular place in a particular way. So he used to say ki, I used to ask my client very clearly, what do you expect out of this session, what kind of help do you need from me, and the client used to tell them that I want to stop seeing these dreams because it is affecting my life.
Okay.
So he used to go along with the narration saying that, okay, now you know that you were this in your past life, why don't we come back to the present and start creating a better future, something like that, where you agree with the client, you tell them, okay boss, whatever you are experiencing, that is real, but let's get over that and let's start a new thing. So the therapy used to be for him to forget all those memories, or even if not forget, at least not let those memories bother you. And then they used to start working on their present. So this is what even Gaurav sir used to do when clients used to come and say that they are possessed. So he used to use certain hypnotic techniques to ensure that these memories, or whatever these feelings that the clients are having, you kind of work on those feelings, try to find the underlying reasons. Usually there used to be one or the other reasons, that they are either mentally stressed, or they are, in a way, they are experiencing maybe say harassment at their workplace, at their houses, cases of domestic violence. We've seen all of that happening.
Okay.
And because of which the clients start acting in a way where it makes them feel that they are special. So there is also something in psychology called like the Messiah syndrome,
right,
where you start feeling that you are godlike, or you are special, and you start acting in a way where people around you might find it absurd, but you feel extremely important at that particular moment. And I think I had also watched this documentary by Scoop Whoop, where they were trying to chase this entire topic of possession. So I think the series itself was called as The Chase and Demonic Possession. So what they did was, they tried to analyze where do these things happen a lot, and their statistics pointed towards rural India, right? So when they visited there and when they interacted with a specific set of people, right, and they found out that there was a lot of harassment that used to take place. There was a lot of violence that used to take place, because of which these this suppressed kind of or oppressed, I would say, rather, people who were oppressed in a way, they acted
Acting out.
Yeah, they were acting out, and they were trying to voice out their oppression through this particular technique.
Sometimes it's also when people are trying to get attention. That also happens.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, there was this, I was working in this company, and the office boy, he was recently married, newly married, and his wife was in the gaon, and he was here working in Bombay. So one day, and he knew that I was doing this, I think so, I'm not too sure, but people were aware that I was into the paranormal. So one day he got me this video, and he showed me this video and said, "Madam, ye video dekho." And I'm looking at the video and I'm laughing my life out. I was like, what the hell is this? I said, ye kya hai? So he's like, then he told me that this is my wife and she is, ye possess ho gayi hai. मैं कहा possess कुछ नहीं है ये, उसको सिर्फ attention चाहिए. तू यहाँ पर है, तुम लोग की अभी शादी हुई है, 1 महीना भी नहीं हुआ है. You are here, she is there. Obviously ना, क्या attention मिल रहा है उसे, कुछ हो रहा है.
The video you could see this wife who's doing somersaults, backflips.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the extent of what do we say? Attention seeking.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, so he was telling me. I said, what do you want me to do? So you want me to come there and do what? I mean, I'm not an exorcist or this and all. I said, first of all, I don't think this is possession. It is just something psychological. I said, मैंने उसको बोला, सर एक काम करो, आप उसको बॉम्बे लेकर आ जाओ, अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगी वो. Maybe she wants to come here, you know. And he told me this guy was uneducated. This girl was a BA pass or an MA pass or something she was. As
Hmm.
a highly educated girl, she's married to a man who's illiterate. I mean, I don't have anything against it, but maybe she must be feeling that I can do better, and acting out, that's why. And she's left there, he's here in the big city,
Yeah.
she is in some gaon somewhere. I said, bring her here, apne aap theek ho jayegi. Let her go start going to work. Let her start coming here, live with you, start going to work. Apne aap theek ho jayegi wo.
Hmm.
आफ्टर अ फ्यू डेज आई आस्क्ड हिम, आई सेड क्या हुआ तुम्हारी वाइफ का? तो ही नहीं, हम उसको किसी बाबा के घर यहाँ पे लेकर गए थे एंड they apparently got rid of the whatever was possessing her.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
But I think these people who claim, right, these godmen, Baba,
Hmm.
Tantrik, Malwai,
हाँ, वो लोकल ट्रेन्स में लगा होता है ना वो पोस्टर.
हाँ,
and
yeah.
these people are, the real, I think, the underdogs of this field of psychology because they know how to treat each one, right? For example, I know somebody who actually visited these, these godmen, and they have a proper setup, like they have an office. So if you actually follow their address or you call them on the numbers, right, that they put up in the local trains. And if you actually trace back to where they belong from, so they have this entire setup. They've created an office.
Oh,
They have
wow.
created a workstation that they are. Yeah, so it's an actual business that happens in Mumbai, and I think across in all the other cities in India.
Yeah.
So what they do is basically in their office they have these small setup or they have placed these small items there or maybe say glass bottles in which they claim that there are certain spirits that they have captured and they have kept for your purpose.
Okay.
So for example, if you go and you tell them that there is something like maybe say money is something that is missing in my life, they'll offer you this
तो
one
एक
glass
शेल्फ
bottle.
पे से वो बॉटल निकाल के
हाँ.
उस पे लिखा भी होगा, दिस इज फॉर दिस इज द एम्प्लॉयमेंट घोस्ट.
Oh.
Yeah, and then they name that spirit also, right?
Okay.
And then they hand it over to you and you pay them 25,000, 50,000, I don't know, whatever the person charges you, and they'll say that all you can do is you can just release the spirit and it will get that money thing for you.
Okay.
So all this Vashikaran and all of this, so this is like a proper business. But if you actually break it down, what they are doing is they are only playing with your psychology. Some people may actually see the benefits. Why? Because now they have started believing that their problems are getting solved and they have started working towards it.
Okay.
So it's a concept in psychology, right? The power of suggestion. That is what the tantric is using, but he's using it in his own way.
Yeah.
So that is why this entire market of paranormal research, if I say, or paranormal field, is broken down into two segments. One is where people will believe in absolute nonsense or whatever is offered to them, they'll believe in it. And the second segment is where people, even if they experience something, they will act as naysayers. So they'll be like, no, whatever I experienced, there's nothing like this in the, or they'll turn into extreme, extremism where they'll try to debunk each and everything, or they'll try to say no to each and everything, even if they have actually experienced it.
Okay.
So so there are two extreme groups, and we somewhere, our role is to kind of balance it out, and maybe whatever is real, bring it to the audience, say this is the thing that we experienced it. Whatever is kind of rumored or something that is, for example, like Bhangarh, the place like Bhangarh. So it's an historical, it's a monumental place, but what has happened is because of multiple, I would say, I won't blame only the YouTubers, but there are a lot of other elements that have given a bad rep to that particular place. And it's actually a beautiful place. I've been there, I've investigated it, and we didn't find anything there. But still, my opinion of not finding anything would be an unpopular opinion because people want to believe. It is there on Google.
Yeah.
If you search.
Yeah.
Bhangarh is the first one.
I think so. In Asia, it's the highest.
It's supposed to be the number one haunted, but it is not.
Right.
There's nothing there, and the only thing that is there is either wildlife or either people who are doing some kind of antisocial things. So apart from that, if you go there for the history of it, it's really beautiful, right? But then it has got a bad rep because of all these elements.
So I had someone from Archaeological Survey of India on the podcast, and that person told me before Bhangarh got famous, he was working at Bhangarh for some excavation or something, and he actually saw how Bhangarh got famous. It was done by the local hotels and places like that for tourism. They called up media and then they told them these stories कि यहाँ पे ऐसा होता है वैसा होता है. Once it went into their psyche, then evening में they started hallucinating and stuff like that.
That is what, right? Once it's instilled in your mind and you start believing it, so, and once you start believe, all this is in your mind for
Yeah.
such a long time, and you start believing it, whatever you're believing, it'll come in front of you, right? Manifestation. So
Okay.
that is what it is.
The surprising factor is in a lot of these so-called haunted places that you find on Google, and you'll see a lot of people who stay there after night. They'll do whatever they want. They'll do parties.
And most of the time, these are just stories being brought down from generations to generations and generations, and have been twisted and turned according to whatever suits you.
Okay.
So yeah.
So
That's what-
this is what we talked about key from a psychological aspect, and when it's not true, but what really happens, and if you could share some of your personal experiences where actually there was a ghost or a soul or a spirit, if you could talk about that.
Sure.
Which one?
The
So we've had a few experiences, few very amazing cases that, you know, but there's this case was like, I was not expecting anything to happen. I mean, usually he's the one who says, "Yahan pe kuch nahi milega." But this time I was the one. I said, "Yahan pe kuch nahi milega." No, but then this was a person that I knew, I was working with, and when they found out that I did this, after some time, they approached me and said that, you know, one of their relatives was experiencing all these things in the house, and they had already, I think so, that's what she said, that they had already spoken to some Baba and all who had come to do some puja and things like that, and he said something. I said, okay, so what do you expect out of me? He said, can you please go and visit and see if there is anything there? I said, okay, but usually what happens when we go for an investigation, we do a preliminary, like we'll go there once before just to get the look and feel of the place and the people and talk and see, just do like a basic reading of the place and all. But this time we did not do a preliminary. We straight away went to the location, because with the way she described it, that they were desperate for help. So when we went to the location, it was kind of active. I think as soon as we started experiencing stuff. In fact, I started experiencing things even before we reached the location.
Okay.
So I was in the train and I was feeling very nausea, headaches and things like that. I was like, feeling very heavy, palpitations and all that. I was like, what is this? And then I just kept it, okay, maybe I have not slept properly because I was coming straight from work. I've not eaten properly. So I said, I'll just close my eyes for some time till the train reaches the station. Just take that power nap and just, maybe I'll feel better, you know, that half an hour nap I'll take in the train. But then as the train was approaching Churchgate, it was getting heavier and heavier. The feeling was not going away. It was getting so heavy for me. And when we were walking towards the location, I could barely move my feet.
Okay.
I literally had to force myself to walk, and I actually stopped him and I told him, Sid, I don't feel too good, yaar. I mean, this is what I'm feeling. My legs are very heavy. And so he was like, if you're not feeling well, then you want to go home. I was like, no, yaar, yahan tak pahunch gaye, abhi ghar kya wapas jao, wo bhi akele in the middle of the night. So I was like, no, let's go. And I think he also told me that he was also feeling a little bit weird. So I was like, dono ke saath ho raha hai, and he's not the one to feel all these things.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the one who always feels all these things, and he's the one, every time you go on any location, you start with this. So him feeling this and me feeling, I said, okay, there is something going on, probably. And I think for a good 10-15 minutes, we were standing down in the building, thinking, should we go up or not?
Oh.
Because we did not know what to expect. Or should I even continue with this? Because it was getting heavier and heavier for me.
Yeah.
So eventually we said, okay, fine, we've come this far, let's just go through it. Just go through the night and see what is happening. If it gets too much, then we'll stop the investigation and we'll come off from there. So we went up there. I think we were four of us who went there. And as soon as you enter the house, you can just feel the darkness. You could feel the darkness. First of all, the house was dark. The lights were all off. And in the darkness, you could still feel the darkness. And the house was filled with mirrors. There were mirrors everywhere.
Okay.
I was like, itne mirrors kaun rakhta hai apne ghar mein? And it was so weird, that place, the energy there, the vibes from people in the house and all. So we said, chuck it, we'll just set up the cameras and everything. We'll talk to the people in the house and see what is going on. And they told us, "Hey, this is what they're experiencing. The TV goes on, goes off without us using it. And then they will hear stuff, hear voices and footsteps and things like that was happening. And there was one particular member of the family who was facing it the most. So I was like, okay. So we were setting up the cameras and all. And as we were setting up the cameras, one of our cameras just fell off. Flew off. Not even fell off. I'm going to say flew off. And I almost missed him. And he's trying to put physics in this, okay? Physics.
Motion or whatever. I'm trying to calculate how did this happen. And this was not like, we just set up the camera and it happened immediately. This was in between, in the middle of an investigation where, we try to create like a controlled environment where we place our equipment strategically to ensure we are documenting the entire place. So paranormal investigation is all about documentation. It's not about, like I said, it's not about chasing ghosts or that there is a spirit here, you run behind it with the camera. That's not investigation. A proper investigation is always where you ensure that whatever you're experiencing is getting documented.
Right.
Because in the end, that is what will help you analyze or maybe see if what you're experiencing is psychological or if something is happening in that place. In that place, the moment we set up the camera and everything was fine. There was nothing happening. But the moment we started investigating, wherein we started, asking questions, or it was not us actually, it was the client who was kind of, communicating with whatever was there. So there was a point in the investigation where I think he was a little frustrated. So he said out, he started cussing basically to whatever was there in the house and, started challenging it. You show your presence, all of that. When he did this, that was a brief period of time when, he did all of that and he waited. So he wanted to take a deep breath because he was getting very hyper. Yeah. So he stopped to breathe, and in that a few seconds, I could hear something behind my ear. It was like when you pull a socket out of the plug. So that was the voice I heard, and the moment I heard that tuck karke voice, I remember seeing up. I could see that camera fly and land on a small couch that was right next to, but the distance was too far.
मैंने उसको बोला था, I told him, कैमरा सेटअप ढंग से नहीं किया है. Check and see this.
The most surprising thing was, so that was a camera which was, it was like a wireless. So we had like a tab where there was somebody who was sitting in the hallway and they were just observing what is happening in the room. So that person then came in the room and they told us that moments before this entire incident happened, the date, the time, and the details of the specifications of the camera, or whatever data was being displayed on the tab went completely blank, and they could see things, like they could see a lot of flickering happening on the screen and all of that. And he was saying that I couldn't make out what is happening. He thought it's like a technical error.
Okay.
But moments before this thing happened, that happened on the tab, so they were cut from the entire, they didn't know what was happening inside. Okay. It was only me, Meghna, and the client who was there. And we had actually locked the door, so there was no noise going out. And this incident happened, and that is where we kind of had to take a break in the investigation. Maybe, firstly grab hold of it. Yes.
And just try to just sit and just say, okay, what just happened?
Because in moments like it kind of, either you decide to continue or you decide to just
pack it up.
Yeah, just pack it up and, just abandon that case or whatever. But you don't feel like, continuing. And I think that was my first experience of an actual, genuine, authentic, an experience which I still to date cannot explain. Even if I say that, probably it was my own mistake that probably my hand touched the plug. But then the distance at which the camera flew and fell, I cannot justify that entire.
Right.
And it's not that as if that the camera was on a tripod or something कि हाथ लग जाए और वो हिल गया और ऐसा कुछ, nothing. It was on top of a rack or something. We had kept it. He had made sure that it was fixed properly, stable,
Throughout the night, this never happened.
That was happened just that one time that the camera that fell. So whatever the client was doing the provoking, it kind of worked in our favor. There were other instances, So just once. I
like
think,
what?
Like Sid and I, we got locked in the room. In that same room where this camera fell on. So after we took a break and everything, we said, okay, fine, we'll go back inside now. So this time it was just the two of us. We removed the client from the equation. So we went back inside, and I know मैंने दरवाजे से भेड़ के रखा था. Okay, just ऐसे भेड़ा हुआ था, उसको लॉक भी नहीं किया था. And we did our investigation and everything, and I think we were there for about half an hour. So we said, okay, fine, let's just wrap it up. We'll go to a different room now, or we'll just take a break, or have somebody else come in, and the next team to come in. So when I went in, and I was towards the door, he was inside and I was towards the door. So I was like, okay, chal, let's go. And when I went to open the door wouldn't open.
And it was like a normal knock.
It was normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do like this. ऐसे हमने कुंडी को ऐसे कर. I was like, what the hell? जैसे वैसे आपका डोर का है ना. I was just trying to do. I said, I know I did not lock the door. मैं ऐसे भेड़ के रखा था उसे. I was like, how is this locked? And I'm trying to turn the knob here at both the sides. I'm like, Sid, the wretched door is not opening.
So when I tried, and I was continuously pulling from the inside, I mean, I was thinking that probably the door might have got jammed, or कुछ हुआ होगा करके. And it's like a proper house, right? It's not like a chota mota
It's
ऐसा.
not like that.
It's a modern house.
It's a modern house with a lot of modern amenities. I mean, if I have to tell you, they had CCTVs attached in their hallway because they used to suspect that the maids are the ones who are kind of moving the objects from here to there, or they are stealing objects. So that is why they had CCTVs in their house, and centralized air conditioning and all of that. So it was like a proper well made and interior decorated house or something like that.
Yeah.
And for the door to not open, it was very weird. And the absurd thing was, so when we were doing all of this, like I said, there were 2 or 3 investigators who were investigating in the hallway, right? So these members heard our kind of heard the commotion, and they tried to push the door open from the outside.
So the door opened from outside.
Okay.
So they were like, what the hell? I said, why did you all... We were like, I think the first thing is, why did you all lock the door from outside? I said, they said, we didn't do anything. We heard you all...
Provision to lock it.
Yeah. It was only we could lock it from inside. So they were like, we heard you all doing whatever. And that's what he came to your rescue.
Damn. So what happens next?
So what happened next was, after we finished the investigation, so in between, we decided to take a break. So the boys went down with the client, and I was up there with one of my other investigators, Mohan. We were sitting in the hall at some room, which was also a puja room as well. And suddenly, both Mohan and I, what we experienced was that whole room became so dark and so bad, in the sense that, whatever was there was not good.
Okay. Dark
it gave
in the sense
us
as in
jitters. Like a dark... I mean, you could see that dark mass forming in that room and taking over the whole room. And Mohan and I were like, what the hell just happened? And we could... and that darkness was not a good vibe. Not a good feeling at all. We knew it is not good. And I immediately called one of these guys... I'm not even sure whether it was him or the other, or Rit. We called and I said, just come up. And because Mohan and I were both shit scared. So we had no idea what was going on. Then we told them that, this is what is happening. This is what we experienced. So we're like, okay, come on, let's just get back to the investigation now and let's start doing it. And then we started getting a lot of K2 hits and audio. So we did not know whether we had captured anything, but our K2s were going off, a ghost
What
meter.
is K2?
And the K2 meter is to measure electromagnetic field. So we have 2 of them. One is a ghost meter and one is the K2.
They are EMF measuring.
Right.
EF measuring devices. So we had kept both of them on the table, on the dining table. And so we kept asking, okay, light this one up. If your answer is yes, light them. If your answer is no, then light this one, whatever. And we were actually getting... the gadgets were actually going off. We were getting responses through the thing. And if we said, are you this? Then this would go off. Are you this? This would go off. Okay, can we light this one up? This would go off.
This basically shows, whatever was...
Like an intelligent communication.
Okay.
So we knew we were dealing with an intelligent spirit.
Okay.
Yeah. So
An intelligent spirit is basically something that will kind of, respond to your
questions.
to your questions or to your commands. Or to, see, we usually don't command, but then it's like, understand or establishing like a communication pattern with the whatever you want to call it, energy. Specific case, I think, like you said, they can't speak sentences, but then
We had documented full sentences. And it was all targeted to him.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll tell
I mean, I don't know. I mean, specific instances where we had. So we also use this particular device called as EVP recorders. Basically, these are digital audio recorders, which are kind of which are small and it's easy to carry and place wherever you want. It's not like a boom microphone that you take for filming. So it's like a small thing. So what we usually do is we place two recorders right next to each other and we try to ask questions to see if we get documented. Now here again comes the question where how do we know it is intelligent? Because these sentences, these voices that are getting recorded, human-like voices that are trying to say something, it only gets recorded in one of the recorders, right? And for me, again, so when you speak about paranormal investigation or investigators, each investigator has his own niche. For example, if I speak about Meghna, she's very good at kind of documenting, say, photographic evidences or videos. For me, it's very easy to, or for me, I'm driven more towards documenting audio anomalies. So where you might hear a voice, a sentence being said.
Are EVP expert in our
Okay.
So we do all of that, right? And Reet is someone who's good at maybe using an EMF device to or tracking something to do with EMF. So like this, we kind of split our work also. So in this case, my audio recorder used to or had a lot of these EVPs where they were fully constructed sentence. I don't want to be here, or help me. All of these voices being recorded on the and very close to the microphone. So it's not like it's a distant voice where you cannot make out. In this case, the voices were so clear that we actually created a compilation of around 10 voices and we added it to our. So it's up on our YouTube
and these
channel.
voices were not on my recorder.
Okay.
And both our recorders were going on at the same time.
So if
Simultaneously.
possible, just for the audience, I'll put that audio for whoever wants to check that out, because I for sure know I'm not getting sleep for next 7 to 8 days now because I'm scared of these things. And to experience that firsthand, I'm curious what happens next then.
So there were a lot of other things. So I think in the middle there was also this funny incident where kind of while we were in that same room where all these activities happened. So I had placed my audio recorder. So wherever I investigate, usually my audio recorder is always on, right? So in that place, kind of after the client is done provoking. So this is before that the camera incident happened. So we were also trying to provoke and see if we can get some kind of response or evidence. So there I keep calling out the spirit or whatever is there, that why do you only show presence to the client? Why not speak to us? Do something. You could push the door, do this, do that. And then in that brief period of time, again, this is not something that I heard on real time, but when we played the recording back, so I get this voice. I don't know. I mean, I think it says Chindi Chor or something, or it's a digital. It's like a robotic voice that feels like it is kind of taunting me or saying calling me Chindi Chor or something like that. Right? And that for some reason that audio, when I sent it to Gaurav sir just to analyze, he heard that and he was so kind of he was very in a way he was laughing a lot, so he kind of took that audio and he retweeted or tweeted it, something like that, right? So he put it up on Twitter for his audience, and then everybody was kind of fortunately he didn't name me, so nobody knows who's that investigator who got called that, but on this podcast I'm letting you know it was me. So that became like so there were a lot of other instances also like this, and one of them being so what we had done was we had asked the clients to kind of sit in one particular room so that we get the rest of the place to investigate. So when we were investigating in one place, something used to happen in another part of the house. So for example, when we were investigating in the hall, we get a call from the client. So because they don't want to come out and disturb, so they were calling and coordinating with Meghna on the phone. So that client calls us and says that the TV has randomly started turning on and it is continuously switching channels, or it is stuck on one particular channel with the volume being 0. Now all this is being controlled, and literally when we entered the room, so they were all scared. So they were kind of sitting at everybody was kind of very sitting at one corner in the room. near the bed, and they kind of pointed out towards the TV. So when we looked at the TV, the remote was placed right next to the TV, but we could see that it was running on some, I think there was some music video or something going on with the volume being turned down, which is zero. And they were saying we didn't do anything. The remote is right there. This TV automatically started, and before
We even checked with them whether the TV was on a timer or something like that, that it after some time would turn on or off or whatever it is. But then they said nothing like that. So then we just turned off the TV. We removed the remote from next to the TV and we placed it next to the bed. And then we walked out from there. And after some time, we again got a call. And this time they were screaming. It's a TV on, a TV. So then we ran inside again, the TV was on. And then it stopped. And then I think it turned off in front of us only. It happened 2-3 times in front of us.
So, I mean, there were a lot of these, anomalous activities that were happening in the house. Maybe, and okay, so probably initially first few instances that we had, and these were all spaced out, right? These were not happening back to back. So these were all spaced out. So 15 minutes of the time period we had a lot of activities. Next 10 minutes were completely kind of, there was nothing happening. Again, 20 minutes when there was one instance happening. So that is what it consumed, I think,
Entire night.
Yes, around 8 hours is what we spent in that house. We reached that place at around 11, and by the time we left, it was already around 6 or
6
something.
o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So all this while we were up, we were investigating, kind of,
So,
speaking to the client.
why was there this presence in that particular house? Could you find that out?
Yes. So in the end of the investigation, so we had to visit once more. So the second time that we visited, which was around I think 4 days after, and we tried to kind of do a small a small investigation, not like the one that we did the first time.
Not a full fledged. This was more of a cleansing kind of a session that we did.
Yes, because now we knew that there were these entities there, because with the evidence that we got, the experiences that we had, we knew there was something there, right? So when we tried to connect the dots and we tried to figure out why this is happening, one of the factors that we saw was there was a lot of animosity, or what do you call it?
It was a very dysfunctional family, actually.
Dysfunctional family.
Okay.
And
Dysfunctional in what sense?
they were not.
They were like always, I mean, the children were rebellious, and one person was an authoritative figure in the family and trying to control the rest of the members of the family. It's either, it was like more you getting the vibe, it's either my way or the highway kind of a vibe that the person was giving. And then I think they also said something that they had something of someone who had passed away in the house.
Okay.
And they could feel that person's presence. So I said, get rid of that thing then. Get rid of the thing, you'll get rid of the spirit.
Okay.
Maybe that spirit is attached to whatever you have in the house.
Majorly, I think the entire center of these activities was around the son. There was a son in the family. So whenever he used to kind of be
In the house,
be in the house and be very hyper in a way.
Yeah.
So if you remember, I told you that when he started cussing and when he started throwing tantrums and all, that is when the camera actually flipped, or it was thrown, or whatever happened. So most of the activities were centered around him. Whenever he was in the house, we used to kind of experience a lot of things.
Okay.
So we did an experiment also, because so we wanted to see whether it's just him or whether it is everybody else also, whether it's just the house. So we told him that leave the premises for some time, and then we want to investigate. So I think he was out for a good 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then that entire 45 minutes to 1 hour, nothing happened. Nothing happened. We went from room to room to room to room. Nothing happened. Then we told, okay, fine, you come back now. And when he came back, and then we started doing the investigation again. Then again, things started happening. And this time when when the client was asking questions, we told him that, you ask questions and all. So I decided that I will happily provoke, which should not do. Lesson learned. But so I was like, oh, so what, you're now behaving like a girl now? You're not going to give us any answers? Why are you doing this? Otherwise, it's such a macho thing. Then just show something, do something. You can do this. No, just stop behaving like a girl. And I let it go then. But yeah, the consequences came later. When we reached home. When I reached home, when we reached home early in the morning, I just went to sleep. I did not do anything. I was not even aware that I needed to do anything at that time. went to sleep, got up in the evening, freshened up, and sat with the evidence analysis. I was going through the audio. I had a little bit of audio, which I was from my recorder, and I was going through the videos that we had from our cameras and going through some pictures as well. So I was going through some. I think I had taken almost about 600 pictures in that house.
Okay.
In that one night.
Damn.
Almost. Even I did not know I had taken so many pictures. So, and I was going through all the pictures, and nothing was going on. Everything was, I said, there's nothing in the house, nothing. And then suddenly there was this 3-4 pictures that happened. And in one of the pictures, and I saw, that's what I think I saw, this little child was peeping out of the door, from behind the door. And the child did not have eyes. It was like hollow, everything.
Okay.
Hollow. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. It was completely hollow, but I could see it peeping out of the from the door. And I was like, what the hell? And I said, okay, let me see if I can see the same thing in another different set of pictures as well. So usually what I do is if I'm focused on a particular area, so I will take, if I'm clicking a picture of a particular area, I will take about 4-5 pictures of that particular area only. So then I have a before, in between, and after as well, just in case there is something in there. So this is how I usually take my pictures. So I saw this child, and there was nothing in the other pictures. Then after some time, and I'm going through the other set of pictures, then I see this thing manifest in the pictures, or a set of pictures that had happened. And suddenly at the last picture, I saw this huge creature. And instantly, as soon as I saw it, I knew what I was seeing.
Okay.
And I knew it was, I'm going to say it's a devil. It's the devil himself. I'm not even calling it the demons. I'm calling him the devil himself. So, and
so what
I
did
will
it
never
look like?
forget what it looked like. Never. It had these huge horns,
Okay.
huge horns. Its face was a goat or a ram. I think it was a ram's face, the whole human body. And the legs were horses' feet, like hooves, like they have that thing. And it was a good 10 to 11 feet tall.
Damn.
And I saw it in the picture, and it was like as if I'm standing right next to it. I'm like this, and it is like this in front of me. And it is looking at me, and it's laughing. It's giving that smirk, saying, I've got you. And I saw that, and I was taken aback. I said, what the hell did I just see? Never ever have I experienced this something like this in any of the investigations I've taken pictures. I've never done. I was like, okay, shut this all off. I'm not going to look at any of the pictures. Let's get to the CCTV footage. Now, CCTV footage, I did not have the software to see the footage. I said, now what do I do? So I called up Gaurav. I messaged him and I told him, and he called me up, or I called him up, and he's like, and I'm asking him, I'm trying to watch CCTV footage. Do you know what software I can use and this and that? And then he's like, Meghna, wait. I was like, what happened? And he's like, okay, I know you're talking, but I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand. You're fumbling, and I don't understand what you're saying. I said, what do you mean? I mean, I can hear myself talk. I know I'm clear. I can hear the words. He's like, no, I don't understand what you're saying. And then immediately he was like, tell me what happened in the case, the investigation that you all went last night. I was like, nothing happened. First, I was like, yeah, nothing happened. I was just nothing, just normal. Like, ye sab hua tha bas wahan pe. He's like, to phir kya hua? I was like, okay, so I was just seeing these pictures and all that, and I saw this thing. He's like, what did you do after you came back from the investigation? I was like, I went to sleep. So he's like, did you do a cleansing? I was like, what the hell is a cleansing? That time I had no idea. I never did any cleansing coming back from any investigation prior to this case. After this case, every investigation, I do a cleansing. Or even every 15 days, I do a cleansing of myself. So he explained to me a simple cleansing procedure. What needs to be done is just taking salt water baths.
Okay.
He's like, put the phone down. I want you to do one thing. Stop everything that you're doing. First thing, go and take a salt water bath. And whatever protection prayers you have, keep saying that when you're doing saltwater baths, when you're taking a bath. I said, okay. I did that. The first mug of water that I put on me, from head to this, and I hadn't even started saying my protection prayers, I could hear the scream in my head. I was hearing somebody screaming. And as soon as I put that one mug, the first mug of water, I literally felt something leave my body.
Damn.
And every time I put another mug of water, I could feel something leaving my body and I could feel the scream. And Gaurav told me, after you do the cleansing, you will feel oppressed. You may feel like this. You will get headaches. You will have this, that. He told me everything what's going to happen. He said, I want you to just relax, go to sleep. If you want to have a cup of black coffee, have a cup of black coffee and just go to sleep. And as soon as I finished my cleansing, the headaches were so much the headaches were. I went to sleep then. But before all this happened, before I could speak to Gaurav, and when I saw whatever I saw in the picture, my whole demeanor had changed. I was angry, I was pissed off, I was snappy, and I was snapping at everyone in my house, from my little niece to my mother. And unfortunately, every time मेरे साथ ऐसा कुछ होता है, मेरी माँ मेरे सामने होती है, and she is the person who gets the brunt of it, you know. So now she knows, when I snap at her, she knows that something is wrong with me. Something is attached itself to me, because she's gotten used to it. And I was just snapping at my mother. I was like, how irritating this woman, my mother is. I mean, why is she even in front of me like this? I was like this, you know.
Yeah.
I could have broken something or hit someone. You know, I was so mad. And then when I spoke to Gaurav, and then he told me, then I felt better. So still today, I feel so guilty, you know, for treating my mother the way I treated her that day.
Yeah.
But of course, she knows what was happening. And so then, after this, Gaurav said, okay, fine, do one thing, send me those pictures of what you saw. I said, Gaurav, I know there is nothing there. He said, no, just send me the pictures. So I sent him those 4-5 pictures, and I think he had told him also and sent it to him also. And then Gaurav said, okay, fine, when you get up in the morning, you will again feel that same oppressed feeling and all that. So again, take a salt water bath. Keep taking it till you don't feel better. And wo apne aap ye settle ho jayega. But after 2-3 days, it was still not settling. So I messaged Gaurav again. Then I was like, I don't know what is happening. It's still continuing. He's like, don't worry, it will subside. And if it doesn't, then anyway, I'm coming next week to Bombay. I will do a cleansing for you. I will do a cleansing on you. I said, okay, fine. But then by the time he came to Bombay, I had completely forgotten about the incident. And the whole thing just went away. And the pictures that I sent to Gaurav, he did not find anything in it, but he knew that something had happened. He knew instantly that something was wrong with me, that I must have definitely seen something. Otherwise, I would not behave in this manner. He knew something was wrong, though he never said anything to me afterwards. We never discussed the case anymore or anything afterwards. But I have a feeling now, when I just think about it, I have a feeling Gaurav knew instantly that something was wrong with me, or something is happening with that particular case. Because as soon as I started talking to him over the phone, he was like, what happened to you? I mean, I never even said anything to anyone at that point of time. So that was a thing that still stays with me today. I mean, even now, after so many years of doing that case, I still sometimes go back and see the pictures, you know, that did I see anything there? But there is nothing in those pictures.
Okay.
Nothing. It was just I don't know why did I see that, or maybe, then I'm thinking that maybe I provoked. And whatever was there, it just followed me home.
Okay.
So now when I go for investigations, I'm much more careful. I mean, if a spirit needs to be provoked, then you do the provocation. Otherwise, I don't ever recommend people. You need professional guidance to do that work.
One more kind of, thing that happened there was, so while we were at the location, we got this SOS call from, one of our
Actually, Gaurav had only called us. Yeah.
So one of our investigators who was not there at that location but was experiencing something independently at a complete different place.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't know. matlab, We still to this date I don't know if this was a prank or what, but kind of he had clicked a picture of himself while he was traveling to in the day while he was traveling. In that picture, he says he was all alone with a particular. He was in a car and there was somebody who was driving the car and he was sitting at the passenger seat in the front, and there was nobody who was sitting at the back. But when you see that picture, so he had clicked the picture in one of the mirrors, the side mirrors that are there, and he had clicked that picture, and in the back you see this a old lady or a female sitting and half of her body is visible.
Okay.
Right, and we don't know, and there was, I think he knew we were going for a case. We had told him and we had asked him to accompany us, but he was like, no, I won't be able to make it. But in the night, so he didn't see the picture till the time we were actually there investigating. And in the middle of the night, we got his call and he was trembling. I mean, you could experience his sound being, very, he was very scared after looking at the picture. So initially we thought probably this was a prank. But again, when we think of it, how good of a coincidence can this be?
Yeah.
That we are experiencing things independently at one location, and then there is this guy who is, and he is someone who does not, or till date, I don't think he believes in the paranormal or anything, because he was completely skeptic, or he said, until I get a first-hand experience, I won't believe in it. So
I think in spite of this thing also, he still did not believe.
But that,
It kind of shook him.
Yes.
Yeah.
That maybe there could be something, there.
He asked me just one question, right? Where are you guys? Are you kind of, I don't know why, but I feel there is a correlation in what you guys are doing right now and the things that I'm seeing in this picture.
Okay.
Again, that was, something peculiar, that this guy also was experiencing something independently.
But why did he say that there could be a correlation?
He probably thought that, something that we were kind of doing in this particular location where we were investigating had or is having a direct influence or effect on this.
On him.
Was it true?
It was in a completely different, the experience was in a completely different time of the day.
Okay.
But he also kind of, somewhere saw that picture in the night.
Okay.
And while we were actively investigating this location.
So could you find out, or like what was the relation?
No.
Okay.
But you know what? There is there is a belief in this field that ghosts and spirits, or especially not even ghosts, especially demonic entities. I'm going to put it in this way: demonic entities. They know that you're coming or you're going for an investigation, and they don't want you to come there to investigate, because they're like, you, if they come here, they're disturbing my space, and I will not. And if they get rid of me, then I will not be able to do what I'm doing here. So this is the belief in and there have been cases where across the world where when paranormal investigators are going to certain locations, they either fall sick or something or the other goes wrong, and they either have to postpone the investigation, or that particular person who falls sick has to withdraw from the investigation. So this is what it is believed. And I think this is what I believe was happening with me as well. That when we were going to that location, whatever entity which is there, which is the strongest there, knew that we are coming there. And to stop us from coming there, go to that location, investigate, it was messing up with my health and making me feel all this way. And in spite of us not turning our backs and going back home, we went ahead and did the investigation and, confronted whatever was there. And then it decided to, okay, I'm going to teach you a lesson now.
Okay.
And I think if it wasn't for Gaurav that time, I have no idea what would have happened. I would have no idea how to manage that situation with what was going on, because I told him also that this is what I'm feeling, this is going on with me, because he had come to visit me that night to exchange the recorders.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea, but this is what I'm feeling right now and don't know what's going on. And so that I'm thinking, thank you, Gaurav, for being there for me. So now I'm in a better position to help myself, This happened with me again recently in COVID times.
Oh, okay.
When I was coming back from work, and my work, where we were staying, it was walking distance from my work, just like a 15 minutes walk. And it's main road. There were no cemeteries on the way, no nothing. Just one temple. That's it. Actually, 2 temples. Just walk through them. That's it. and I'm walking in evening. I mean, it's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. I was to walk home, and to reach my building, I had to cross the main road. So I was standing at the divider. Nothing. I was just listening to music. Before I left, while I was leaving work, I called up my mother and told her that I'm on my way back home. And I was listening to music. So I said, 15 minutes, let's listen to music and walk. I was waiting to cross. I was standing at the divider, I was waiting to cross the road, waiting for the traffic to stop so I can cross the road. I don't know what happened then. As soon as I got down off the divider, I felt something change in me.
As in?
The same angry, and
Okay.
then and I was standing at the divider, and as soon as this traffic stopped and I took the first step down, immediately my mother called up, and she's like, "Where are you?" I was like, "Do you not know I come to work, come home at this time every day? Why are you calling me a million times?" And then I knew, and then my mother also knew something is wrong with her, and I knew that something had attached itself to me. From where whatever came, I have no idea. So I was like, "Mom," when I reached home and my mother opened her hand, like looked at her, and she was like, "What's going on with you?" I was like, "Mom, give me holy water. We keep holy water and holy oil in the house." So I said, "Mommy, give me holy water." She's like, "For what?" I said, "I want to drink it." And as soon as I said that, I could hear a voice in my head saying, "Try it, it's not going to work."
Damn.
So I was like, no, I had to beat this thing. And I was like, okay, whatever, shit. I'm not going to listen to this voice. And it kept saying, and there was this laughing in the head, you know, that horrible devilish laugh that happens. And it kept saying the same thing to me. Try it. Not going to work. Not going to work. Not going to work. Hit her, hit her, hit her. My mother was standing right in front of me. And I took the holy water and I drank the holy water, and it got stuck here. It wouldn't go down. Got stuck here, and I was like, I have to gulp it down. I have to gulp it down. I gulped it down. I left everything. I said, okay, fine. Okay, let's just wait. So I started getting ready for my breakfast for the next day, pack my lunch and also just prep everything and keep it ready. And when I was doing that, again, that heaviness thing was, I said, okay, I left everything. I said, Mom, I'm going for a saltwater bath. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm going for a saltwater bath. At that time, Gaurav was no longer there with us. So I messaged Pooja from Pairs.
Yeah.
Because she's like a spiritual healer and all that. And I messaged my therapist as well. She's a hypnotherapist. She's helped me a lot in my life. So I messaged her, this is what is happening with me. And I messaged Pooja. I said, dude, this is happening with me right now. What am I supposed to do? What do I do? I've taken a saltwater bath. I've took holy water. I've taken holy oil, but it's not working. And both of them said the same thing to me. Just ground yourself. Sit on the floor, bare feet, sit on the floor. Keep your hands and feet on the floor. And just sit there and keep saying a protection prayers. And just feel whatever is there. Just like the roots of earth coming inside you and just sucking everything out of you. Keep doing that. Keep visualizing that thing unless you don't feel better. And I think I sat in that position for almost an hour like that. And afterwards, I felt a little lighter. And then I got about doing my work. And this was we never went for any investigation or anything. Yeah. This was just on my way home, standing at the divider, and this happened. He also not aware of this. I never told him this.
So this is the first time.
This is the first time he's hearing.
Okay, I mean, I've heard this in
bits and pieces, but.
Okay. So let me ask you like two-part question. First, these entities, you call them demonic entities. So they specifically choose a specific type of person to attach themselves, or is it at random?
Usually it is specific. Usually when possession cases happen, you will see a pattern with the person who has suffering or has that possession attachment towards it. It will either be that the person is going through some stuff in their life. You know, they are at the very low, very vulnerable, weak, sick, depressed, or they have some kind of an addiction or something like that. Usually it happens with those kind of people. But in my case, I had nothing like that.
Okay.
Maybe it just wanted randomly to maybe just try me out or test me or whatever. I don't even know why it happened to me. I have no answer as to why it happened to me. But mostly possession cases, when they happen, it starts with these kind of these attachments with people who are at the weakest moment. Yeah.
Okay. And the second part of the question was, once that has happened, so you talked about cleansing and some protection prayers. So if you could just give a general idea, what should a person do if they feel like they are being chased or possessed by such entities? What should be their way of protecting themselves? If you could give them a general idea or some tips or something.
So for me, because because now in being in this field for such a long time, you kind of become sensitive to all these energies, right? You start picking up from here and there and all. So for me, what I do is I just do a salt water bath. Okay. There are other methods also. So for me, if I have to say protection pairs, I will straight away reach out to Archangel Michael, because he's the archangel for protection against these kind of powers, you know.
Yeah.
So you reach out to him, or I'll start recalling out to Jesus, or or I'll just keep saying, right? For example, sometimes if I have nightmares and my nightmares are filled with demons, it's like that.
Okay.
And I'm talking about demons. I'm not talking about bad people who are harming. No, I'm talking about demons. So when I have these kind of nightmares, I straight away start calling out to Michael. So let's keep saying, Michael. I keep saying that till I don't feel better.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's alternate between Michael, Jesus. So it goes on like this. But there are other ways also you can do. Like you can do a sage cleansing, Palo Santo, or whatever. Or you can take whatever religious belief, whatever is your religious belief, whatever you have. Like a lot of people do Hanuman Chalisa. That is a very powerful prayer, especially for all these things. So everybody has their own thing. So whatever suits you, whatever you believe in the strongest, that is what, because all these things work only if you believe it will work.
If you have that faith.
If you have that faith, and your faith has to be so bloody strong that you know that it is going to, my God is there to protect me.
Okay.
That is his job to do. And I was like, Michael, this is your job to do. You are my guardian's angel. You have to come and protect me from all this. Right? So it's like that, everybody has a different, but for me, the basic is salt water bath. If you can get sea salt or sea salt, that is much better. Otherwise, you can take normal home salt जो हम लोग इस्तेमाल करते हैं, वो ही डाल दो पानी में, and just take a bath from top. Take a bath with it. So every 15 days, I do a salt water bath for me. I just did when I was not feeling well in between. I did a salt water cleansing for me. Because when you're going out and all, you are interacting so many people, you're bumping into so many people. You have no idea what kind of energy you are collecting from there, and it's attaching itself to you. So you need to protect your aura, yourself as well.
Got it.
So this is what I do. Otherwise, every when I sit and do my prayers in the evening, I always do a sage cleansing or a Palo Santo cleansing. I do that in my house. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so when you understand or when you speak about possession, right, there are a lot of different angles to it. One of which I think I discussed it with Gaurav sir also, where he said, like we said, right, earlier when we were talking, we said that not all cases that you come across are like a genuine case of spirit attaching itself or influencing you. It can also be your psychology, right? So we met people who have some kind of disorder or a psychological disorder, say bipolar or a PTSD, all of that. So in those instances, of course, whatever you do in terms of cleansing with the religious point of view, it is not going to work. So for them, the normal way to do it is maybe reach out to a mental health professional and speak to them, or try to maybe speak to your loved ones, try to understand what is the root cause of your of the suffering that you are having.
Contact the experts.
And for me, if I speak about cleansing as a definition, it's basically to protect yourself from any kind of harm that might be coming from outside. So as simple as promoting the belief in self-love, or promoting the belief in realizing that you have all the potential in the world to achieve something that you want. You need not be affected by something that is external. So this is also one thing that we do with our clients, apart from using other cleansing techniques. We also promote counseling them, or we also ensure that maybe any kind of mental health needs that they might have, just for their mental well-being, whatever they require, we provide it to them, or at least we recommend them to some kind of professional or a mental health practitioner who can help them overcome stress or any kind of trauma that they might have been going through. So this family that we spoke about in the case where the son was the center of all this that was happening, the best way for them was for the son to live his own lead his own life, and the family to lead their own life. And they chose that. Yes, they chose that eventually, although not separate in the way, it's not that they don't talk to each other, but at the moment, till I think a few years back, I think 2-3 years back, when we contacted them, we came to know that the son is now living in some different country, and they are living here in India. But things have settled down. There's no experiences that they have. Nothing paranormal in fact happening in their house. So things got settled down. And so it basically means that you need to first, what to do is to basically to identify
the cause of what is happening in your life.
Okay.
Right? So possession just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. There are stages to possession, right? And possession doesn't, like I said, it may take days, weeks, months, or even years to get for a person for that full-fledged possession to take place. So the stages before the possession is the time when you can actually stop that from happening, that full-fledged possession to stop. And here is the part where the stages is the part where you need the support of your close people, your family, your friends, to be there for you, to get you out of whatever situation you are in, right? If you're depressed, you need to, your family, your loved ones, or your friends need to get you out of that place. Take you out, get back to life, get back into the social circle. Go out, party, whatever you used to do before you got into that depression stage. Get out from that place, from that zone. Open the doors and windows. Let some light come in, let some sunshine come in. Go stand outside in the sunshine, let that light soak inside of you. So all these can help you a lot. Your family is the most important thing. You can, even though there are a lot of people who shut themselves off completely when they are going through whatever they're going through, but it's for your family to be there, stand there, help you out.
Reach out to us saying that they are possessed or they are experiencing paranormal around them. If you actually do a little background check, you'll come to know that they are either they are in some kind of self-isolation, or
they're lonely.
They are lonely, and they are troubled by their past. Maybe they have experienced childhood abuse or some kind of trauma. And
so are the people who are in this negative mind space, are they more likely to get into such situations where they might get possessed by such entities? Is that more likely for them to?
Could be, or like I said, probably even if you are not. So see, the concept of possession is your thoughts being influenced. So in ways where I think also thanks to the Bollywood movies that we have, where they show that possession is where a spirit enters your body. I don't think anything can occupy your body physically or metaphysically. It cannot occupy your body. It is just that there is some kind of external influence that is happening where your thoughts are now getting influenced by something. So possession can happen as simple as you overusing your mobile phone, and then people might use the word that are you possessed by your mobile phone.
Right.
Obviously that does not mean that your mobile phone is residing inside your body. It just means now your entire time on the day is going towards using that particular device. So that is the concept of possession is basically you being obsessed or kind of influenced in a way by something external.
And that influence and obsession is very, very strong.
Yes.
Very strong. So to the extent ki, it's like when we literally say, possessed hi lag raha hai ye to.
And you won't believe the number of cases that we get. I think recently we are constantly being chased by this one individual. Of course, we don't know where does she belong from or something. And they keep telling us, or she keeps telling us that I am possessed. Please help me. Please help me. And then I asked her for her medical evaluation report. She sent it to me promptly. She had done everything, and in the report itself, there are some keywords like anxiety, keywords like depression. That female has been prescribed some kind of anti-anxiety or anti-depression pills, which means the medications are going on, and she's constantly saying that these medications are not helping me. I still feel some pricking sensation in my body. I feel
writing on me.
And if you, I think she had sent a photo to Meghna, again, not to make fun of her, but it looked like she's not even, grooming herself, or she's not, taking care of herself, and she's completely given up on the thought.
Living.
She has, so she's completely believing that she's possessed by someone.
Okay.
And this is,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about somebody who's not educated. I'm talking
Yeah.
about somebody who's living in a metro city, who's educated, who's working who has a corporate job, who's doing all of that, who's earning well.
Yeah.
Right, living independently. But somewhere, when I speak to that particular individual, or when we communicate in general, we find at the idea of taking accountability, responsibility, loving yourself,
That is not there for most of them, for almost all of them.
self-belief is only something that is,
When you start with such people, when you start getting into their history, and you ask them, when did this start happening? What do you think was the reason for this? And was this happening before you were living here? And that's so, when you start getting into the history of their life, and then they will reach at one point, and they will say, like for this particular individual, she was like something to do with her ex-boyfriend or something. She had some traumatic relation, or something happened, that guy broke off, or she broke off, or something, and I don't know, something like that was going on in her life. And now she is like, that guy I think he's the one who's done something on me, or so on.
Oh.
Yeah, like
So
I mean,
something
there's
like black
something like
magic.
that.
Yeah.
Something like that only, and she's made up her mind.
Okay.
So she's like, I know somebody's writing on me. I said, okay, then if somebody's writing on you, can you click a picture and send me? If something's writing, then you can see the writing, right? No, I don't see the writing, but I feel somebody's writing something on me.
How do you help someone? So we are people who document experiences, right? Visit places, and something that is happening physically. But how do you help someone who says, I feel there is a needle that is pricking inside, from the inside, under my skin I feel something. I feel like, there are certain insects or something walking inside I feel it inside my skin. So how do you help those people, right? And if you understand basic biology, everything, every sensation that you feel in your body is something to do with your neurological system, is something to do with your brain, with the organs in your body. That is the reason we ask them to visit a medical professional and get an evaluation.
And the evaluation is done for the person. She's been given a medical evaluation where he actually showed me, and he underlined all these keywords, and he sent it to me, saying that, see, what she's going to.
You need to be so a lot of people feel that paranormal investigation is all about, taking a camera, saying, hey guys, we are going to this haunted place. Jumping a wall, getting
वो ghost hunters करते हैं.
Correct.
ये सब.
That is very amateurish. So true paranormal investigators will look at, there's a 360-degree angle where you analyze each and everything in minute detail.
So true paranormal investigator.
It's like the cops, when they go to a murder investigation, right? They have a forensics team coming.
So
they
you
have
understand
it's
it's
like
science
we have
and
to break
spirituality
it
both.
down.
Okay.
कि यहाँ पे क्या हुआ था? What led to the murder of this person? So they go into the finances, they go into the background and see what kind of relationship they have with the family, the wife, the kids, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother. Go into the finances and see. Then they'll see, oh, life insurance था इसने, 10 crore का life insurance, इसलिए उसको, that could be a motive, right? So just like the cops break down a murder case, with the forensics team and all the other experts that they have on board, this is what we do as well. That's why we call ourselves researchers and investigators of the paranormal.
Field of science that we follow in paranormal investigation, it's also forensic science only.
Yeah.
So we go to a place, we document, we analyze we collect evidence, and the last step is where you analyze and then you conclude. So it's not based on your experience. So you walk into a place, oh, I feel, there is a white light coming from somewhere, spirits. We don't do all of that fancy stuff.
Right.
So it's either we document the evidence and we present it to the people saying that, okay, this is what we experienced. Or if we don't experience anything, like we could probably share our personal experiences saying that this is what we experienced. Does that hold a lot of weightage? No. Why? Because we couldn't, electronically document it somewhere.
Right.
Even the incident that I keep narrating about the case that we said where the camera flipped, right?
We couldn't document that thing, but that's like that becomes a personal experience. That door closing, we couldn't document that.
Correct.
but we know that happened. That's like our personal experience.
One of the drawbacks in this field is again getting that the technological support, or kind of from an electronics point, because so those equipments that we use are very, very expensive, and you need to import them, right? Because for example, if I have to say I want a night vision camera, right, getting a normal DSLR camera in itself would cost you around 1 lakh rupees. Now converting that into a night vision where you take out the IR filter from the camera, you need an expert to do that, else you will end up messing up the lens, right? So taking that risk of converting equipments into things that would make it easy for us to document, and after doing all of this, still you will see images being blurry, grainy, and then it's very easy for people to say that probably they might have edited that image, or this might have been a misunderstanding,
right?
Or it could have been like a pareidolia effect where you are seeing images in a normal setting, but that is just your brain working towards it, right? So we have to, after we go through a lot of filters of debunking all these things, finally we then arrive at a conclusion saying that if this is something that we cannot explain, this has to be like a paranormal evidence, and that is very rare. That is why we always say that around 97-98% cases, either it's psychological, either you can explain. It's only that 1 or 2% cases where there might be a slight hint of paranormal.
Like,
Okay.
That's what it's very difficult to, unless that space wherever you're going, the location really has some kind of history. But the problem here
a
happens
place
is
probably like Golconda Fort where a lot has happened and people even do suicides over there. So
probably there is exactly. So when you go to a location, you need to check the history of the location as well, right? What happened there? Now, if you go to a place, say like in the States, there is this place called Gettysburg, right? Gettysburg is a site of the Civil War, right? Where so many thousands of people, soldiers, Union and Confederate, were killed in that war. Civilians, of course, there was only just one civilian fatality, but then Gettysburg as such, and the area surrounding, or the buildings surrounding Gettysburg, they all have something going on there, right? Because for some way or the other, those places, those houses or buildings are in and around Gettysburg had a connection to whether they were used as a morgue, whether they were used as a hospital, field hospital, converted into a hospital, or in where soldiers were hiding and things like that. They all have something or the other going on. So whatever happens in that, what we say is like a stone tape theory. Just look, thank you. Whatever happens in that, whatever tragedy, whatever happens, like something which has a lot of emotion that takes place, not just a tragedy, I'm saying, the walls of the location will soak in all that.
Right.
It will absorb all that.
And energy.
Then that energy is absorbed in this. That's called the stone tape theory, right? The energy gets absorbed. And then when the time is right, like moon phase or this falana, this, or that particular time and date, it will start bursting out all these activity, right?
Which is why we say some places have a very positive vibe and some places have a very negative vibe. Is that because of this theory?
No.
Okay.
No. That is completely different then.
Okay.
So these, I'm just talking about all these hauntings that take place in some locations which are very active, when you say, right? All these historical locations, if you go to.
Okay.
Like, I mean, when we sit and watch all these ghost shows and all, we always, my mother and I will always say, how is that place so haunted? Every house you go, there is something happening there. Every location you go.
Everything related to demons, ghosts, spirits, UFOs, cryptids, cryptological.
But then you see what was happening there.
Yeah, absolutely.
India, you'll
rarely hear things like this.
Yeah.
But you see the history of the country, right? There were American Indians there first, right? Native Americans. That whole land was Native American land. Then the Europeans came in and drove them out. There were wars and all. And Native Americans work with nature, with the elements. They did rituals. They respected that. And whatever they did rituals, they did it with nature, right? They were not using anything else. There were herbs, plants, water, sky, mountains, whatever. Everything was connected to them for nature. When you come in and you take over that place, right? They started cursing these places, right? You did this, now you're cursed for the rest of your life. And that's why a lot of places, when the investigators go to these places and they do the research, kahin na kahin pe aisa nikal ke aata hai, this was a Native American land first. right? And the Native Americans who were buried here, they are unmarked graves. Those people, they came over and took over all this place. The Spanish came, the Europe, other
Right.
people from everywhere else they came, and the Americans started, just taking over the state, the country. They just got rid of the Native Americans. Now there's very less concentration of Native Americans there in the country, which was first, the whole nation was like that. So that is why it is so important that we go into the history of the place, right? I thought there was a monkey there. Seriously,
अरे
क्या
वो
हो रहा है ये?
डील बाद में कर ले.
So it's very important to get into the history of the place, history of the person. And unless you don't know that, you will not be able to investigate.
So a place like Kashmir or say Jallianwala Bagh, those places would have such energies.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Jallianwala Bagh, you go, I'm sure there is. I am definite there is. You will hear residual energy.
Yeah.
Residual, you may just about pick up gunshots there. If somebody gives us permission, I would love to go there.
Okay.
There, if you go to Cellular Jail, right, Andaman Nicobar Islands, or you
I've
go to
heard
Viper
lot of
Island.
stories about that jail, like people experiencing paranormal stuff there.
But there is nothing recorded or
Right.
documented, right?
Right.
I tried to approach those people, but they said, "नहीं यहाँ पे कुछ नहीं होता." So what do you do in such cases?
Yeah.
You're like shut down then.
So-
That's one of the biggest, I think, challenges.
That's the problem. Yeah, challenges
Getting formation.
in our country.
Let me ask you this. So, for example, Jallianwala Bagh, I'm sure the incident that took place over there, it was heinous, like a heinous crime, and the people who died over there, I'm sure their souls are still trapped in that place.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
why has there never been an investigation or a try to release those souls? Like, because
Who's going to give you permission?
okay.
Where are you going to get the permission from?
Either
Who are
if
you going
you-
to approach?
Yeah, if you trespass, so these are all monumental places.
Yeah.
Just like I
Yeah.
said about Bhangarh.
Trespassing
That's a
would be
food.
very tough.
Yes, but if you trespass and if you are caught doing all of this, one is it can also hurt the sentiments of a lot of people because they hold it in high regards. So paranormal is something that is not looked at as an alternative to help someone. It's always looked at as an alternative for, say, entertainment, or either
Correct.
the individual might have completely gone cuckoo to kind of practice
Yeah.
all of this. So that is the thing, right? So it has a very this field now it is changing slowly, but from earlier, if you see, it has a very negative connotation to it. That people who are either jobless or don't have anything to do, they get into all of this.
Yeah.
And that is it shows that you are not at all educated. Today we are sitting here with or having corporate jobs and doing a 9 to 6 job, but also doing this field, maybe give some hope to people, saying that no, everybody
Right.
in this field is not like that, right? There are people who are educated, there are people who are practicing this on the side. It is just that we want to know more answers. We are just people who are very curious. We are like seekers, in a way where we are trying to understand things, but in our own manner and in our own technique, because there is no other technique to do this.
Correct.
So we also need answers, and you also need answers, right? So it's like we are the wizards and y'all are the muggles.
Yeah.
So we also
That's a
try
nice way to put it. Yeah.
So we are trying to get the answers for both of us,
Hmm.
right? And what better way? Now, if you want to know about the afterlife, what is life after death? What happens to you? What better way? From where are you going to get the best answer? From a person who has passed away,
Right.
right? So you connect to the spirit, ask them, and if they give you the answer, then you have the answer. Okay, this is what happens after you pass away.
All people will say, knowing that is not going to help you in any way. It's okay. So for me, ideally, I have never tried to explore this question, as in what happens, because I am not interested in the process. My entire focus has always been to understand if there is an afterlife. Probably, later in the later stage of my investigation, of my research, I would want to focus in the process of transitioning from the living to the dead, or maybe something like that. But till date, it's very difficult to even answer a basic question of why do these things exist in the first place, and how does your consciousness end up surviving in this dimension, or whatever, when you speak about dimension, or what are these intelligent beings? Are they really the spirits that we think they are, or are they something that are trying to mimic a human form or something like that, right? So you don't know. There are a lot of things. So either you can take the easy route and say that all these things don't exist, they are probably just a figment of your imagination, or either you can be someone like what we do in the field, where we kind of will take our equipments, we'll go there, we'll spend the night,
right,
and most of the times we won't come with answers or we won't have any experience, and then there is this 5.5% of chance where we get something or we document. But at least that documentation itself gives us hope that we are in the right direction, or we are trying to find something, or there is some reasonable explanation to
right,
as to why these things happen. Because the first question would also be, why are these, if they have passed away, then why are they still hanging around? Right? There could be many answers to that. So that is what we are also doing.
yeah,
We're trying to figure out things. And this things, the problem here in our country is, like he said, the challenges is that because we don't get permissions.
right,
There are so many places that you can go and investigate. But we don't get permissions we don't get permission to like Tihar jail or Athar Road jail.
Yeah.
Even though they are active jails, like it's been used. But there are parts of the jail where people, you know that there are experiences happening, the people are happening there. So why not come and just approach us? That's what we are doing. We want you to come and approach us. Tell us, we'll go there. Give us the permission.
Okay.
That's what.
I hope so this changes, because a lot of answers can be found when we talk or when we just experiment with these things.
I mean, simple cemetery के लिए हम लोग को permission नहीं मिलता. उसके लिए भी हम लोग को pillar to post भागना पड़ता है. I mean, I've been trying to get permission for cemeteries which are abandoned, but the thought of even going to one part of Bombay, just traveling there early in the morning just to get them, that also you don't know whether you'll get the permission or not. So that's very that only just stops you on, or that would stop me on my in my tracks only.
To be honest, in that I have tried this process of getting an investigation, and I've been laughed at by people in authority or power, saying that don't you have any other better thing to do? Why do you want to spend your night in this place? And then we had to take a different approach and say that because people here are genuinely afraid and nobody is willing to explore that, we are in a way trying to help people by staying there and by telling them that there is nothing to fear, if there is nothing, of course. Right. So in a way we are also trying to help people overcome their fears, or burst myths, superstitions. Yes, we do that also. So paranormal investigation is a vast field, right? It does not involve chasing ghosts. It also involves helping people, or maybe changing the thoughts that people might have, age-old traditional thoughts that that if there is this thing, and superstitions basically. So
see, अगर काली बिल्ली रास्ता काट गई तो तुम्हारे साथ कुछ बुरा ही होगा. You should go back and then come back again. But no, I love black cats. Yeah, black cats are good. I mean, cats as such are called the protectors of the underworld. So why do we afraid of cats? Or you should not play with scissors, nebu mirchi and things like that.
Most things have some kind of alternate explanation, but now they have been twisted and turned to make it seem like there is some paranormal connection to it.
Right.
Okay, right. Of course, scissors के साथ नहीं खेलना चाहिए, रात को nails नहीं cut करना चाहिए.
Because
those all have explanation, right?
Power नहीं था, electricity
उस
नहीं
time
थी
पे
पहले. You could
electricity
have,
नहीं था. You can hurt yourself, start bleeding, and then what you going to do?
Right.
There is no hospital close by during that time.
Nail can actually prick your
Yeah.
It can harm you. So like that. So हर एक चीज का अपना एक explanation है. ऐसा नहीं है कि
So your work is to find out वो explanation क्या है.
We do that, and that is the entire goal. And people should not mix that motive of a paranormal investigator with getting a lot of social media fame, or because nowadays I think everything that people do is for social media, and अगर वो social media पे हुआ तो वो सच है, अगर नहीं हुआ तो उसका कोई reason ही नहीं.
Right.
But when we started, I think when this entire mission of building a team and all started, back then there was no, I mean, YouTube had just started and there was no reason for us to actually hop onto a trend or make a video, and that is where I think nowadays, because everything is depends upon how many followers you have or how many people actually follow your work, in that journey probably we are falling somewhere behind, and but the reality is that we started as real authentic researchers. Till date we are following all our protocols that we have for the investigation.
I mean, if we want, then we can there's nothing stopping us from trespassing or jumping the fence, literally. I mean, there's a cemetery right next to me, right next to where I stay, and that's a Hindu cemetery, Christian cemetery, and a Muslim cemetery that share a wall. If I want, I can just walk in. But first, but for me, my conscience doesn't even permit me to do that. You know, because we have been taught. We are so fortunate that we had a leader who taught us to follow the legal procedures, the protocols, and to be true to yourself, to respect not just yourself, not just your client, but also the spirits as well. So he's taught us, he has built up this team with that with that mindset, with that rules, with those regulations, with those teachings, and we continue to do so.
Yeah.
And it's not, I mean, there are a lot of people who come in the, मैं आपको वहाँ पे करवा सकता हूँ. I mean, we can just pay the watchman, the security guard, हम लोग को मिल जाएगा आधा पौने घंटे के लिए हो जाएगा अपना. No, that's not what we want. I mean, you want, go do whatever you want to do, but don't involve us and don't involve Indian Paranormal Society in any of this kind of things that you're doing.
This is a good point to talk about Gaurav now, because you both are fond of him, and your journeys into this world started with him, Indian Paranormal Society. Towards the end of this podcast, if you could share your experiences with Gaurav and how he was in person, and what his perspective about this whole supernatural world was.
So I think like I said, I first met him in. So I had spoken to him online in 2014, but in person, I had met him in the month of December in 2014 when we were shooting for this news segment in a very infamous place in Mumbai called as the Mukesh Mills. Again, the history behind it is, you know, that there was a random or spontaneous, I think, blast, or, you know, there was some kind of something to do with fire, and it had burned down the entire place, and a lot of people who were working in that mill, they also lost their lives, right? So there was this, you know, a news channel that had approached us who wanted to do a small segment there, and they had done everything. They had arranged for you know, they had booked that location, and they had got permissions and done all of that. So fortunate that we could, or I would say we are the last ones to have actually visited the place as paranormal researchers and conducted a proper thorough investigation of the place. Since then, I don't think there's anybody who's investigated, or now I don't even think that they will give that place for investigation. So when we had gone there, I met him in person. I was kind of, you know, shocked to see that his approach, right, as an individual who meets someone for the first time. It was very warm and friendly. So usually people believe in, you know, shaking hands when they meet, but he was the one who pulled me towards him and hugged me, right? And that instant bond or connection that you could feel with him, right? It didn't feel like you are meeting someone for the first time. It always felt like you already know him from a long time. And I always used to tell him that, you know, and in fact, once we were done with the investigation and all of that, so we wrapped up everything, and so it was either me going to my place or it was me going to him with in the room that he was staying, and he invited me over, right? Because that was the last thought I had, that, you know, I could actually sit and spend the entire night with him, talking, sharing evidence and all of that, and he did that, right? So I think for the rest of the night we were with him in his room, me and there were other teammates also. So we were all in his room, and he was sharing about his experiences while he was working with the Haunting Australia team. So he was also the first paranormal investigator to represent India on an international platform, that too in the field of paranormal, right? So he's done a lot of work. He's done an extensive research. He shared about his time when he started Paranormal Society, and, you know, I mean, there were a lot of things that were discussed, shared, and all of that, right? So as an individual, I would say he had his own moral compass, and he knew what is right for the team, and he knew what his goal was, what his purpose was, right? Nowhere in his entire kind of, you know, the time that I spent with him, I never felt that his motive was kind of, you know, making money, or, you know, in a way, any kind of personal gain. I never felt that personal gain wala angle from him. And he was very clear in terms of, you know, what are the basic expectations that he has from the team, and how do we work. So he was an individual who was very high on following protocols and following procedures and doing all of that. I think that is, from him is where the entire team had this vision of, you know, कि अच्छा हम लोग अगर ये करेंगे तो we'll always follow rules and regulations. We'll never break them. At least to respect him. Now that even if he's not there with us, but we'll still ensure that everything is followed as per his expectations, or, you the things that he had set. So again, investigating what it was with him was fun, but still there were instances where if you goofed up or something, he was like that strict father that you would be scared of, right? So whatever he used to say, we used to follow it. And again, he gave you that opportunity to explore, do things on your own, but he was also someone who was very strict in terms of you should take care of yourself, ensure that you're not hurting yourself. Even though he did that for us, but I think a lot of times he kind of actually sustained a lot of injuries during investigation. Okay, the reason being is because when we visit a location, we usually visit it in the night, right? Even in the day, we do a small Reiki kind of, just to see how the location looks like, and we kind of draw a map of who will go where and who will do what. But in the night it changes because your visibility is anyways low, right? So you end up, if you are not careful, you end up hurting yourself or doing that. So even I think during the Mukesh Mills investigation that we had, I think he tripped over something and he kind of hurt his knee. That is what I remember. So those are things that you should take care of. But he was someone who would ensure that even if he is hurt, but the entire team who's working with him, they are safe, and they don't find any, or they don't have any kind of problems.
Yeah.
Right. So he would do that. So as an individual, I think an excellent human being and an excellent leader, basically someone who has the vision and someone who has the ability to communicate that vision to his team members.
Right.
So I have very fond memories of him. Outside of the paranormal world, he was someone who was very artistic in terms of he was a very good singer. He knew how to play a lot of instruments. He was also a very good actor. So he's actually acted in 2 or 3 Bollywood hits. He's worked with Ajay Devgan. He's done a lot of things, right? So, and he was also a very good mimic. He also knew well, we say yes, ventriloquism, something like that, right? So that's what he was multi-talented, in fact, as an individual. And probably when this incident came up and we kind of heard the news of him not being there and all of that, that is where it took us by shock, because we knew him as someone who's very lively, someone who's very energetic. But the thing that happened back then, where there was this entire segment of the media who was propagating this idea of him being killed by a spirit or all of that was all sheer nonsense. Because if that had to happen, it would have happened to all the members in his team. Why only him? Right? So people need to understand that the importance of mental health and psychology. And this is what he used to always keep saying. Right? He always used to keep telling that there won't be a time in my life where I will actually be harmed by a spirit or killed by a spirit. Whatever happens because of my own decisions, my own actions. He was someone who always used to believe in self-love and accountability. So that is where even when we speak to our clients, we always speak of accountability, responsibility, self-love. We don't say that leave yourself or kind of give up on your thoughts and dreams and say that probably the spirit is going to kill me and all of that. We don't do all of that.
Yeah.
We don't even believe that spirits can harm you or kill you in any way, right? So these are the things that these are the ideas, beliefs that he
instilled in us, and we continue to do so. I mean, there are a lot of people who want to join the team, who want to do the course, and then they will like go. They do the course, and then we said, okay, fine, you can do the certification form. We'll give you the certificate, and then you can create your own or form your own team and all, and do what you want to do. There were sometimes they come and say, sometimes they would approach us and they'll say, oh, ye location hai, permission nahi mila, but I'm going to trespass. So we said, look, what you do. Don't use IPS name. Yeah. Don't associate yourselves with us, or otherwise we will put it on our social media saying that we are not associated with you. We don't encourage this behavior. We've never done this behavior ourselves. Like I said, I mean, there are so many locations in my area that I can trespass. But no. Yeah. And so that was very important for him.
So the principles that Gaurav instilled in you are still continuing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what we tell everybody who joins the course or who wants to, all these enthusiastics or wannabe paranormal, I'm sorry I'm saying that, but such is the case, who come into the field just for the heck of it. They don't understand they don't understand why. First of all, they don't even understand why they are in this field. Why do they want to come in this field? They think they'll get their 15 minutes fame on TV and they'll become famous. But that is not the case here.
Right.
I mean, Gaurav struggled to come on TV. How many times have we seen him on TV? Right? There is no money in this field. We don't do this for money. If we get paid, we get paid. If we don't get paid, we don't ask them.
Yeah.
Okay, we still taking out money from our pockets. Whatever we've earned from the 2 books. Right? That is all that there is.
And just to honor his thoughts.
Yeah, just to keep his name, keep his legacy going on, keep the name of people saying after Gaurav, IPS to kuch raha hi nahi, kuch nahi karte. But that is not what we are. We are doing other things also. Yeah, just because we are not putting up cases online, because anyway, even when we did put some of our cases online and all, if you go through the comments and see the comments that you get, you know, oh, इसमें तो कुछ horror है ही नहीं, कोई डरावना तो नहीं, भूत नहीं दिखा इसमें, तो हमारा काम ये थोड़ी ना है.
Yeah.
वो थोड़ी ना है हम लोग का काम.
As you said, you are not ghost hunters.
We are not hunters. I mean, तुम्हें भूत देखना, तुम टीवी पे देख लो, दिखा रहे हैं. All these movies are coming out. देख लो उधर भूत देख लो, अपने आप को देख लो मिरर में, उसमें क्या है. So
in fact, a lot of even media projects that we do, right? So they want us to join us as their
consultants, so-called consultants. So
then that's just in theory, right? So
yeah.
in practical, they want us to act as writers, act as screenplay, act as someone who's behind the scene, who's doing art, who's doing everything, right? In fact, they want us to produce the movie also, and direct the movie also, and act also in that movie.
Yeah.
Which means
no, not act. They will take actors who will behave as paranormal investigators. We are supposed to give our cases to them. We are supposed to give our equipment to them. Do research for them. Pura din ka research. And not get paid for it. Or get paid peanuts.
Yeah.
And when we go and present the case, I'm like, these are our cases. इसमें कुछ डरावना तो है ही नहीं. I mean, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. You're not levitating. You did not get possessed. यहाँ पे हम दिखा सकते हैं कि आप possess हो गए थे, या आप गिर गए थे, बेहोश हो गए थे, या आपने अपने क्लाइंट को बोला आप घर छोड़ के भाग जाओ यहाँ से, है ना. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. ऐसा तो होता ही नहीं है. How many cases do you know like this that people are getting possessed every now and then?
Yeah.
You don't know. It doesn't happen. We don't have such cases to give you.
Their ideas are
and like ऐसे दिखा सकते हैं demon, ऐसे दिखाते हैं भूत, चुड़ैल. You know what is all those names in Indian folklore?
वही मतलब दायन.
हाँ, वो सब ऐसे दिखाना है. आप ऐसे लिख के दो. I said for what? आपको ऐसे लिखना, आपने राइटर को बोलो ना आप ऐसे लिख के दे, तो आप हमें दिखा देना, हम बता देंगे हाँ ये ठीक है, you can pass it through.
Yeah.
But don't take our cases and mess them up. Because this is not what happens in paranormal investigations when you go to an actual location. Even if their location is where somebody's done rituals or satanic worship, you will rarely find things like that happening there. I mean, the demon is not sitting there waiting for you to come. Right? Just because you did a satanic worship or you opened a portal, the demon is not sitting there, oh, this is my throne now, I'm not going to get you. Come here and now you see what's going on. ऐसा नहीं होता. So,
in fact, we keep saying, right, that if he was still with us, right, if Gaurav sir was still with us, and he would have seen what is happening in the YouTube community, and you know how messed up people have become in terms of understanding this field, right? He would have probably either he would have started his own, he would have taken his putting up videos on YouTube seriously and started educating people, or he would have completely packed up and said I don't want to be a part of this field. Because he had opened doors for so many people. Right now, I think anyone and everyone who's successful in this field, in the field of paranormal, everybody knows him. Everybody at one point in time may have sent an email to him saying that I want to be a part of your team, and we have proof, right? So we still are using the same email, so we can just type in the name and we can find out proof of people sending us those emails and wanting to join or be a part of. Even though we are really happy for people who are successful in this field, I'm just saying that, it out of sheer respect for the person who he was, do not kind of, spoil the field, or do not put up content that you yourself know is going to kind of, give a bad rep to this field.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is very difficult for us to convince people to kind of, not convince, but to show the real side of this field to people, in that, putting up all this masala content and ye dekho maine aaj bhoot dekha and all of that. So it is kind of creating this entire sense of, or it is diluting the entire vision that Gaurav sir had for this field, and the educating your audience wala, the entire motive is getting washed away.
Yeah.
So that is one of the biggest challenges that we have to fight, either with the people who come from the media who want to work with us, either with telling the audience that this is our reality, because everything right now is so messed up and washed up that it becomes very difficult to present a very clear picture of what this field is.
And you have to remember, if it wasn't for Gaurav, people would not have known about paranormal investigations. Do you think there would have been a team in this country if it wasn't for, if Gaurav decided, I don't want to pursue this, I will become my commercial pilot, for which I went for training to the States. I want to do that only. If he would not have had experienced what he did, and if he would not have thought, okay, I need to get into this field now and understand what the hell is happening. He did all that thing. He took his training and everything. And then he came back. He could have left it there only. Yeah, or he could have started something there. But he came back and he says, I need to start educating people in our country now about this. If he had not those ideas, the teams that we have in our country today, or the knowledge of paranormal, that this field that there is there in our country today, I do not think that would have been there. We would have still been watching Ramsay movies. Would have still been watching those kind of movies, Purani Haveli, Veerana type ka movies only. So acknowledging him that, it is because of him that we are there as paranormal investigators and other teams are there. Let's not forget where we came from. He's like, like you say, the father of paranormal research, that the Lord is my shepherd and I am his sheep. So he was our shepherd. Yeah. So it's because of him that everybody else, all the other teams are there. Some way or the other, he has influenced, whether directly or indirectly, he has influenced that person to get into this field.
And just to honor his his work and his thought and memories, we have actually written a book.
Co-authored. So this is that plug-in wala moment.
Yes.
This camera. I'll just show the book first. So this is the book. इसका link आपको bio में मिल जाएगा if you're watching on YouTube. Apart from that, you can buy this book from any bookstore, Amazon, Flipkart, wherever you buy your books from. So just a small plug-in. Why should people read this book? If you could tell them in brief, क्या है इस किताब में?
So this book has a lot of our past, evidence, past cases, a lot of the memories that we had with Gaurav sir personally, and a lot of his journey as an individual from where he started till the time he was here and he was working in the field. So a lot of insider information about how our team started, what did we do, what are the investigation cases that we had, or what was our approach throughout till I think this book covers a brief period of time from 2009 till 2016.
Till the time he was there. And
even beyond that, I think
beyond that, there are like 1 or 2 cases are there of ours, but most of the cases in the book are all what Gaurav had investigated. A few of them, which was when he was in Australia. There are some few cases where he had captured some incredible evidences there. Those cases are in there in this book. And basically how he started out, he was a non-believer. He never believed in any of this. How he started believing, what were his experience that got him into this field. So that's what this book is all about. We shared those cases, we share our experiences, our lives after him, without him, what we had to go through in those initial years after he passed away, and our emotions and our feelings. So that's what we have tried to put in this book, because this is like an emotional journey for us, till today, or when we talk about him, it's an emotional journey for us. And like, people don't understand what we have been through or what he means to us. For us, he is like our God, but for people who don't know the inside, for them it's that we are nothing without Gaurav. But that's not the case. That this is what we are trying to be. What are we without Gaurav? So what bahar ke logo ke liye, it's like a movie, like I want to know the insides of this person, inside and outs. Why are you not connecting to Gaurav? Why are you not contacting Gaurav? Did you contact Gaurav after he passed away? What happened to him? those are questions that we don't, even if we have the answers, we don't believe that you need to know the answers to that.
That's something very
That is
personal
something
for
personal. And if the time is right, or when the time is right, or if we get any kind of sign from him that he says, okay, share it now, that's when we will go ahead and we may just about share our experiences, what happened after.
Even if we try to do that, it is still a lot of our assumptions and our theories. The truth is, see, unless you are in any situation, if you are present in the situation, if you are a bystander who is watching the situation directly, that is where you have a say in that situation. Else these are all assumptions that you are hearing from people, and that is what people also need to know, that it's not that just because you are a part of his team you should know everything about his personal life. You cannot, technically you cannot even know what is happening within your own family, with your own family members, because if they choose not to share, then you are no one to ask them or force them to share that information. So in this case, the same thing that we keep getting asked, right, about, like Meghna said, what happened, what were you there, if you were there, how did you not know? Because a lot of things were kind of are personal to an individual, and I feel we should respect that
Just
space.
because you're working with someone or that person does not mean that you have a right over their life. He has everybody has the right to privacy. You can't invade that. You have no right to invade it. So not
In this
unless
book,
given
we still
permission.
kind of try to put up some facts together of what we know or what is readily available for the public to read. So we have put up those facts also, and we try to kind of create like a narration of of what we think happened or what might have happened, all of those things.
So the book is in his fond memory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so is this podcast. I mean, you both are very fond of him. I could see that in your eyes even when you were talking about him. So I could see how attached you were with him. You are still with him. I hope so that continues and paranormal investigation in India grows. We get to have you on the podcast again and talk about those evil spirits again and sacrifice our sleep for many nights. So
you will sacrifice your sleep. We are fine.
You both are fine.
Just another normal.
That's a good note to end this podcast on. Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much.